Check, check, 1, 2, 1, 2, testing, 1, 2.
for our city clerk to bring up our public comment cards. As soon as she brings them up, we will get started. In the meantime, for the record, I want to say that Councilmember Kern Price has joined us, Councilmember Mitch Englander, and myself, the chair of the committee, Councilmember Jose Huizar. And with that, if we could start the meeting and go to, well, actually, before I begin the meeting, I would like to make the announcement that item 5 on the regular agenda was incorrectly noticed. We have corrected that by releasing a special agenda, so item 5 and item 13 are the same, and we will begin with the special agenda. So on the special agenda, we have Councilmember Price, Councilmember Englander, and Councilmember Louise are present, and if we could call that to order, please.
Item
Special
5.
Agenda 5. Right.
Sure. Item 5, which is now item 13, Councilman. This is an appeal filed by Walter Hall. This involves various entitlements as it relates to a zone change and a height district change. And the project is a project that involves commercial and housing located in CD2.
Okay, is staff here to present on this item? Welcome. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, council members. This is Milena Zasajin with the Department of City Planning. So there are several items before you today. This is for the NoHo West project. It's a mixed-use development, about 1.6 million square feet, including commercial and residential units in the North Hollywood area. One of the items before you today is a zone change and height district change to the C2-1-SN zone and a sign district to allow for a special set of sign regulations for the area. These were all approved by the City Planning Commission, and they recommend approval of these entitlements since they are consistent with the general plan and city policies. There's also the consideration of an addendum to the EIR. This was completed last week. It incorporates 2 new additional mitigation measures for traffic improvements, and this complies with all the CEQA requirements, so we're recommending approval of the addendum. Third, there's an appeal filed by the Laurel Grove Neighborhood Association in regards to some of the decisions rendered by the City Planning Commission. We recommend denying the appeal. I'll just quickly go through the appeal points. The appeal contended that the EIR was deficient. However, it was prepared in accordance with CEQA and reflects the independent judgment of the city. The appellant also stated that the EIR didn't address the adjacent residential traffic. However, we did complete a traffic study in August 2014, which was approved by DOT. We also had a supplemental analysis specifically about the residential traffic. This is included in the final EIR and is in the public record. Even so, there was also additional traffic calming measures that were incorporated by the City Planning Commission, and these are all included in the T conditions of the zone change. The appeal also appealed the determination for approving transitional heights, noting that it's inappropriate next to the single-family neighborhood. However, in the determination, the deviations were only approved for areas next to a school, so the deviations are not next to any single family. The appeal's other point was about the determination approving the shared parking. It said it was inappropriate based on inappropriate assumptions. However, all of the assumptions were based on known components of the project, and they're based on accepted methodologies for calculating parking. The last point of the appeal was for the CPC decision to allow for an adjustment for a reduced rear yard setback. The appellant said that this is inappropriate because it reduces open space and there should be a main central park area. The project has more than required code open space, and the reduced setback does not affect the open space calculations. Therefore, we recommend denial of the appeals.
Okay, thank you. Anything to add?
Lucy Ibarra with the Planning Department. I just want to state for the record that the Department of City Planning prepared a more thorough response to the appeals, and it was uploaded to the council file on Friday for public consideration, and we reserve an opportunity to respond to any appeal points and comments at the end of the public testimony. Please.
Okay, thank you. All All righty, we'll start off with testimony from the appellant, Walter Hall. Okay, Mr. Hall, if you could hold off, please. I understand Council District 2 has some recommendations, some suggestions, so if we could have their testimony come up first so that we could know what's before us at this time. You could take a seat here in the front if you like, Mr. Hall. Council District 2?
Chair, council members, Karthe, Planning Director for Councilmember Paul Kokorian. The council member has submitted a letter on the file on Friday with recommended changes. NoHo West is an important project in the East San Fernando Valley. The Laurel Canyon Commercial Corridor has been having some very difficult years since the Northridge earthquake. It was in a CRA area. The CRA, before it was actually able to get development going, the CRAs went away. It's been a blighted commercial corridor with a lot of empty businesses. One of the main businesses was the Macy's at the site. The Macy's has closed down already, so we have another giant empty box and 20 acres of parking around it. This project will help revitalize the community and the areas. We did submit a letter to the file with additional traffic recommendations and changes to Q&T conditions, adding more traffic mitigations, including additional dedicated left and right turn lanes, do not block intersection signs, a circulator that will connect this site, a free shuttle service that will connect this site to the North Hollywood Red Line station to make this a TOD site and to be able to get cars off the roads by having people use public transit, since it's a mile away from the Red Line station. Some modifications to the sign ordinance, and a phasing requirement to require that some of the commercial components occur before some of the residential components on the site, so that we're not left with just a residential component of the site, and just other minor technical changes to the CPC determination. We hope that you guys will approve this project with the recommended changes.
Great. Thank you very much. Okay, Mr. Hall, Walter Hall, the appellant, and Mr. Hall, you have 5 minutes for your presentation.
Okay, first of all, we're just lay people. We don't know the ins and outs of the building code, the loopholes or whatever. We're just trying to make this project better than it is being presented to you. I'm also a board member of the Greater Valley Glen Council, which is immediately to the west of the project. Move our border 1,000 feet to the east, and the project would be in the Greater Valley Glen footprint. We have passed a motion at the Greater Valley Glen Council supporting the project, but objecting to the number and the height of the apartment buildings that are being planned at the corner of Irwin Street and Radford. They're immediately opposite single-family home neighborhoods. If you travel south from Oxnard Street on Laurel Canyon, all the way to Ventura, with one exception, one 5-story exception, you'll find no apartment building higher than 4 stories. What's being proposed here is 6 stories immediately opposite single-family homes on residential streets, on side streets. The number of apartments that are being proposed is 642. On the square, in the 1/4 square mile, Laurel Canyon to Colfax, Victory to Oxnard, there is right now only 510 residences. This project will more than double the number of homes, apartments, residences in that 1/4 square mile. The North Hollywood Valley Village Community Plan calls for the preservation of and enhancement of the positive characteristics of existing neighborhoods. Our current culture is making the meaning of words less and less important. If these words have any meaning, they are not being adhered to here. If you listen to the nearly 203 minutes of the Planning Commission's hearing, with the one exception of Commissioner Mack asking whether there would be any affordable housing here and being told no, only Ambrose, only Chairman Ambrose or President Ambrose and the Vice President, Renee Dake Wilson, participated in discussion of this project. And when the vote finally was made, one voted yes and one voted no. What's being proposed here in the letter from Councilman Krikorian is the addition of 8 super graphic signs on the west side of the parking structure. Originally, the proposal was for 4. 2 came in at the Planning Commission meeting, and when the final motion was made, those 2 super graphics were disallowed. What Councilman Krikorian's letter proposes is 8 super graphics on that west side. The project should be renamed Times Square West, not NoHo West. I only have 1 minute left. I would like to read what Councilman Englander said when the Village at Topanga opened. He said that that project and similar projects in the future want a destination location, a place where you're experiencing community, not just picking up groceries. We want a gathering spot. That's not what we're getting here. The right-of-way, the vehicular right-of-way that goes right down the center corridor of the retail and commercial part of this project needs to be disallowed, turned into green space. What this project needs is more open space, more green space, not the minimal amount that is actually proposed here.
Thank you. Okay, now we will hear from the applicant. We have 2 cards, the applicant rep and the applicant, no, 2 applicant reps, David Geiser and Scott Mcpherson. And do you wish to use your 5 minutes together or 5 minutes and then 1 together? Okay.
Together.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you. And thank you for the opportunity to present today. My name is Scott Mcpherson. I'm Executive Managing Director of Merlone Geyer. We are a private partnership that has been together for 23 years. Over the course of our ownership here, we have developed or redeveloped over 140 properties in the West Coast, and we seek out properties exactly like NoHo West, that we see an opportunity to change not only the property itself, but the area. Since the 1994 earthquake, this entire area has been in decline, and we're excited to help be the catalyst to make that change. Throughout the last several years, we have conducted a tremendous amount of community outreach. We've had over 25 meetings. We've met with elected officials, we've met with residents, we've met with community members, and we've taken many of their comments and incorporated them into the plan. That plan today includes multiple community benefits, including many voluntary benefits that we will be performing in the local neighborhood. I'd like to say that we are different than many developers. We are capitalized, we are fully integrated, we do all of our own leasing and management, and we own the property. We haven't tied it up and are trying to get it approved. So finally, I'd like to add that we are in full agreement with the council's letter from December 9th, and we hope you will consider approval today.
Good afternoon. David Geiser. I'm Managing Director of Design and Construction for Malone Geyer Partners. When we started this project, we made the original decision to keep the Macy's building and to repurpose that as a silver certified office building with ground floor retail and with parking in the basement. That drove the decision then to separate the retail component from the neighboring residences with the residential component of our project, thus allowing us to put the parking structure and the retail along a main street on the west side of the project. The reason I mentioned that is that we've been working with the neighbors to redesign the residential component of the project, reducing by over 100 units the project down to 642 from 750. And also wedding cake, or stepping back those buildings from the residential street. Now on Irwin Street, we're stepping from 3 to 4 to 5 to 6 stories, and with the Macy's building being even taller yet. So creating a more residential presence along the street. We've actually added stoops and exterior entrances on the ground floor along Irwin and on Radford. On Radford, we stepped from 4 to 6 stories, and working with the school, who didn't want to have residences looking down on the play yard, we reoriented the balconies on there and stepped from 3 to 6 stories. Our project now is a true mixed-use project with 327,000 square feet of commercial and retail space, 642 residential units, and over close to 250,000 square feet of office space, providing much-needed jobs for the area as well. Our original entitlements, they include signed district that was adopted by City Council, I believe in 2011. That allows us to implement our unique sign program that indeed has some innovative design features, large graphic letters at the entrances, pillar signs, but also graphic signage on the freeway, which we think is very important to get the people to come back off the freeway to this now basically vacant site. And again, these are super graphics. These aren't these LEDs facing the freeway. The LEDs, which are non-moving, they're static signs, but they're LED lit, are on the north and south side of the project. So I just want to clarify that not everything is LED or moving. The only moving video is actually facing the plaza, interior to the site, and that's where we'd have a movie night in a large plaza center area of the project, and allows us to do advertising, community advertising as well, but also things like, again, like a movie night or playing sports or something to help generate more activity at the community level along our main street. Lastly, we're excited about the opportunity to close down for as long as practical during the week the Main Street area to traffic. The site's been designed to allow traffic not to have to flow down the Main Street and to create a real pedestrian atmosphere for community events on evenings and weekends as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we will continue with public testimony. James Campbell, Reverend Patricia Lowe, Timothy Lowe. Do we have an extra room here today? Maybe they're in the other room. Do we have Sergeant, do we have a overflow room? Okay. If James Campbell, Reverend Patricia Lowe, and Timothy Lowe are here, if you could please make your way down from the other room. In the meantime, I'll call Ron Bitzer, Diane Corral, one minute for all other public testimony. Yes.
Mr. Chairman, my name is Ron Bitzer, property owner within 490 feet of Laurel Plaza and this monstrosity. I support specifically the traffic concerns raised in the appeal. You know, there have been no fewer than 3 LA traffic studies for this project, and then we've just heard from Council Member Krikorian's aide that, yes, we need to continue to address traffic issues. Shouldn't this be a clue that when you have the 170 freeway forming the western boundary of Laurel Plaza, that maybe there'll be an issue with Oxnard Street, Burbank Boulevard, Victory Boulevard in terms of on and off-ramp activities? In fact, the final EIR said that under current standards, there would need to be further study of 974 vehicles using the Oxnard Street off-ramp. But no, we don't get any cooperation with the Caltrans, which I think is very unfortunate.
Thank you. Diane Corral.
Hi, my name is Diane Crowell. I'm with the Laurel Grove Neighborhood Association. I'm the president of the association. We've been around for 16 years. We've been concerned about the height of these apartments. They're 4 to 6 stories adjacent to an R1 single-family homes and a school. At 642 units, even with their reduction of 100 units to 642, it will be the largest apartment complex in the entire East Valley, larger than anything in the NoHo area. All the apartments near the metro at NoHo run between 400 and 500 units. So you are placing, by approving this, the largest apartment complex in the whole East Valley next to single-family homes. So we're really concerned about that, about the height of it. We thought that it could go no higher than 4. We don't know why they need to go to 6, even with the staging. We're concerned about the main road. We think that we'd like to have something similar to the Americana and Topanga to have more of a gathering space, and we don't understand why they have to have a main road there. We'd like to see it closed off to allow for more green space. And I've written you a letter. Please take a look at it. Thank you.
Thank you. James Campbell, Reverend Patricia Lowe, and Timothy Lowe. And if a Carolyn Kloss is in the other overflow room, please make your way to the main room. Thank you. Welcome.
Good afternoon. I just wanted to lend my support to this initiative as a neighbor. I live less than 1,000 feet from this proposed installation, and I can tell you as a resident of 10 years that this neighborhood indeed needs some revitalization that is long overdue. I am 40 years old, and this place has been vacant since I was a senior in high school. Let that sink in. This is the absolute key to the revitalization of the Laurel Canyon corridor. There are young people in this city that need large apartment complexes to rent because this is a supply and demand issue. The fact that we don't have adequate housing in the city stems from the fact that single-family neighborhoods are resistant to renters in large numbers, and that has pushed all of the real estate out of the bounds of people who are just getting out of college and having their first careers. Thirdly, this developer has been nothing but kind, listening to all of our needs, and I think that they will address any needs that continue to arise as this moves forward, and I have full confidence in them to address continuing needs of the neighborhood. So I would hope you would lend your support.
Thank you. Reverend Patricia Lowe.
Good afternoon. I am the pastor at Emmanuel Lutheran Church and the chaplain at Laurel Hall School and the Early Childhood Center. We have a stake in this, as that our church actually owned the property before anyone else. 70 years ago, we purchased that property as part of the campus that we have, and then consequently sold it. But we desperately need this development in our neighborhood. The developer has been very, very conscientious about our needs and wishes and has accommodated us in many ways. We know that it's not perfect, but we are very excited about the possibilities of what it will do for our community and particularly for our church. We desperately need development in our area. We do need housing, and we need affordable housing as much as possible, but also for the young people that want to live in our area. So we support this, and we also support our developer and hope that this will go through. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Timothy Lowe, Carolyn Claus, and Melissa Manano.
Members of the council, I am Tim Lowe. I am, yes, the husband of the woman that just spoke. I am acting as the chair of the church NoHo West Task Force and have worked for the last almost 2 years with the developer Merlone Geyer to make sure that we manage and mitigate the impact of both construction and the operation of the new shopping center on Laurel Hall School. Laurel Hall School is a day school with K through 8 programs, approximately 500 students at Laurel Hall, and they share 2 property boundaries, our western boundary and the northern boundary. We do support the project as presented. We would ask you to deny the appeal that is present. We worked, frankly, very, very well with Merlone Geyer. We believe that the project will be successful and will be a real asset for the community. They have done an outstanding job of mitigating the impacts of their proposed project on the school. So we ask your support for their project. Thank you.
Thank you. Carolyn Claus, Melissa Manano,
Good afternoon. My name is Melissa Mariano. I'm a homeowner adjacent to the project. First, we need, at the minimum, a traffic calming measures put forth by the Laurel Grove Neighborhood Association to keep traffic in the area flowing safely. Until now, the DOT has essentially overlooked traffic concerns raised by the Neighborhood Association. Also, I ask that the project provide an actual green space fitting of the neighborhood. I ask that you please take careful consideration of the proposed sign district, as both the developer and Councilmember Krikorian's office have been inconsistent with the details of this project component. And lastly, what the gentleman said earlier about needing affordable apartments for young adults, I think that if NoHo is any sort of indicator of the apartments in that area, I don't believe that these apartments will fulfill the role that they're looking for cheap or affordable apartments for young adults and for young families. Thank you.
Thank you. Carolyn Klaus? Yes?
Yes.
Victor Viereft?
Yes.
Mary Garcia and Donna Moss.
Yes, good afternoon. I'm Carolyn Klaus. I'm president of Emmanuel Lutheran Church right next door to the project. And I've been in that neighborhood for many years and gone to that church for many years. And I feel that this is an improvement, this project, to this area that is really important for the area. And I am in support of it.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Vic Varick. I'm with the Universal City North Hollywood Chamber of Commerce. After many years of vacated commercial property, North Hollywood needs the Laurel Plaza 25-acre site rebuilt in a manner that will really benefit the community. The proposed NoHo West retail, restaurant, health club, cinema, offices, and rental housing will help the community overcome its struggling and start to thrive. The community needs to support improvements that would also improve substantially the vacated property in Valley Plaza and along Laurel Canyon Boulevard, benefiting the rest of the community. Besides providing jobs, recreation, restaurants, and needed housing, new tax revenue would be generated from sales tax, property tax, and income tax. The community needs to thrive, overcoming the stagnation it has had too long. The Universal City North Hollywood Chamber of Commerce enthusiastically supports the NoHo West project. Thank you.
Thank you. Mary Garcia, Donna Moss, Dino De Este, Matthew Silbert.
Good morning.
Morning.
Mary Garcia, President, Midtown North Hollywood Neighborhood Council, in which this project is in. I'm just going to read you a little statement. Midtown North Hollywood Neighborhood Council voted overwhelmingly to support the Malone-Geyer NoHo West project. We, the Neighborhood Council, represent about 90,000 people as of the last census and are obligated to represent those who live, work, and own property within our boundaries. This project was approved by our planning committee and the full board, and the board members that represent immediate development site. This site has been blighted for over 20 years. We feel this project will end the blight, create much needed town hall center, creating a livable, walkable community, which is very desirable today. As well, the developer has worked closely with the community and has made changes in response to the community's concerns. While some may not be fully satisfied, this project has strong support and will benefit the whole community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Donna Moss. I'm a 28-year homeowner in the NoHo West neighborhood and a board member of the Midtown Neighborhood Council. Since 1994, when the Northridge earthquake happened, I have been looking at empty homes and businesses. We have been called the NoHo Ghost Town. Now, because of this project, we stand a chance to get rid of this nickname. Zillow is also listing properties as the home of the NoHo West project to attract home buyers and investors. We now have investors interested in our neighborhood. I feel that the developers have gone way out of their way to accommodate residents that are opposing this project. I support this project as is. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Dino De Este, Matthew Silbert, and Jonathan Herrera. Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you. My name is Dino Deste. I'm a representative of Emmanuel Lutheran Church and Laurel Hall Schools directly attached to the project. The Valley's not as what it used to be. It used to be a quiet suburb. It's now bustling with activity. This is progress. There have been many companies that have come in and failed. This company's come in and addressed many needs of the entire community, made adjustments, and is looking to develop a quality project. North Hollywood's been underserved with stores, office, residential. This project will bring North Hollywood back to what it should be and comparable to other surrounding cities. I oppose the appeal, and I support the project as proposed. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome.
Hi, my name is Matthew Silbert. I'm a resident living at 5803 Radford Avenue. This project will no doubt be beneficial to many, many people and hopefully bring great prosperity to the area, but not for all. There are some residents living immediately adjacent to the project that will suffer in a number of ways, so we'd like you to consider some of the proposals by the Laurel Grove Neighborhood Association, which were also approved by the Valley Village Neighborhood Council and Greater Valley Glen Neighborhood Council. They agreed that we need to continue with traffic mitigation, reducing the signage that has been proposed, and a closure on Radford Avenue. Thank you.
Thank you. Jonathan Herrera.
Good afternoon. Jonathan Herrera with VICA, the Valley Industry and Commerce Association, representing 400 local businesses and nonprofits. Laurel Plaza was once a vibrant shopping mall, but since being damaged by the Northridge earthquake, it has become strongly underutilized. Redeveloping the area as a multi-use destination will bring new life and create considerable economic development benefiting both residents and existing local businesses. This plan renews a vibrant community hub, attracting shoppers, visitors, and residents to the area. The project's new apartments, office space, retail stores, restaurants, proposed new health club, and cinema all contribute to this economic growth. Careful thought has been put into this project to ensure NoHo West is the best use of space for this community. VICA strongly supports the NoHo West proposal. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you. Okay, if we could have planning staff please come up, back up to the table, please. And welcome again. Several issues were brought up by the appellants, in particular the height of the residential units, traffic issues. Were those items that were addressed in your reports and in the as they were raised in the appeals as you responded to those? Can you go over those again, please?
Sure. So the planning department's responses to the appeals addressed all of those issues that were raised today. And just to reiterate for the record, the transitional height is only affecting the school adjacent to the site. So for purposes of the code, the project is compliant with the transitional height requirements adjacent to single-family zones where there's existing single-family residences. The only exception is where the school is involved, there's a deviation of about 1 foot and 3 feet from the transitional height requirements. The height limit here is 75 feet for this portion of the project, and the project is complying with all those requirements relative to height. The tallest building on the project site is the Macy's building, which is 110 feet, and no portion of the new construction is proposing to exceed that height.
Is the original Macy's building, is that extended, is that given additional height in the new plan, or does that stay the same?
It's going to stay.
Stay the same, okay.
With respect to the density, the project was originally proposed as 742 units. By the time we got to CPC, the project applicant reduced the density to 642 units. So the project is well below the maximum permitted density for the project site.
Okay, is there any affordable housing on this site?
There's no affordable housing on the site.
And in terms of request for entitlements, were we in a position to request affordable housing units?
There is no general plan amendment being
There's no
requested
general
here.
plan amendment. It's a zone change, but no general plan amendment.
Correct.
And it's going from what zone to what zone?
From the C4 and the P-1 zone, which is an old parking lot zone that we don't typically see often anymore, to the C2 zone. And it's compliant with the C2 zone is a corresponding zone to the existing land use designation.
Okay. Go ahead.
Sorry. I just want to add also that there was a comment relative to the open space requirements. The project is meeting all of the open space requirements of the code. And in addition to that, the residential component is exceeding the open space requirements for open space by 20,000 square feet. There's no open space requirement for commercial uses. Nevertheless, the applicant is proposing 50,000 square feet of open space. So the project is fundamentally in excess of open space by 70,000 square feet. There was a comment on the number of digital and supergraphic signs. I just want to note for the record that the EIR analyzed up to 12 supergraphic signs and 3 digital displays for the project site.
Okay. And what was proposed? By the applicant? What did the CPC approve? And what is being suggested as changes by the council office?
So the original,
with respect to the signs?
The original proposal for the signage from the applicant was 12 supergraphic signs. At CPC, the recommendation was 4. The council office now is requesting 8. With respect to the digital, 3 were proposed. 1 was approved at CPC, and the city council office is requesting that it be returned to 3.
3 or 2?
2.
3.
3.
3, right? Okay. All right. And the signs, in terms of square footage and size and location to the freeway and visibility, all that complies with all rules, or is there any exceptions to that?
Well, it was fully analyzed in the EIR, so all the impacts were fully disclosed for purposes of meeting all those requirements. And the purpose of the sign district is to establish sign regulations that otherwise deviate from the definitions of the code. So the establishment of the sign district allows the city to further regulate signs that would otherwise not be completely compliant.
Okay. Any questions or comments?
Can we just, we have 2 comments that we wanted to raise relative to the council office's letter. One was we wanted to specify that the main street be further defined between buildings D and E, only because there's vehicular access from the right-of-way to the main street to allow entry into the available parking for the site. And for number 3, we just wanted to add language. Oh, okay.
So that's a recommended change to the proposed language by the council office? What was that again, please?
To modify to limit the closure of the main street to between 2 buildings to allow for access to the parking areas.
Okay, so what would the language be again, and what's the amendment?
Are they buildings A?
Between building, when it says Main Street, the second recommended action on the CD2 letter, after the word Main Street, to include between buildings, the north side of building D and the south side of building E.
Okay. And what's the other recommended?
And the other one for number 3, effectuating the T conditions.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a phasing condition that ties the commercial component to residential building A. Recommend that it be tied to any residential building.
Any residential building?
Yeah, there's residential building A and B.
Okay. All righty. Is that it?
Yep, that's it.
Okay, thank you. For the local council office, do you agree with the recommended changes by the planning department?
By the council office?
The council office.
Yes. I'll only state for the record that the impacts for the signage was fully analyzed, and the discretion is yours whether or not you agree to those changes.
Okay, great, thank you. And for the local council office, do you agree with the two amendments, final amendments by the planning department?
They clarify the conditions in one case, and the other one we can live with, yes.
Okay, thank you. I can't hear you.
The corrections were to recommendations 2 and I believe 5.
Yes.
But I think it was stated as 3.
Yeah.
Correct, 2 and 5.
2 and 5. Well, actually, yeah. Okay. All righty. Any other further questions or comments? All right. So we'll move to deny the appeal and sustain the CPC determination in approving the ZAD and ZAA. We will adopt the EIR and addendum, environmental findings and statement of overriding considerations, mitigation measures and mitigation monitoring program and findings. We will adopt the zone change and height district change and approve the sign district with changes submitted by Council District 2 and adopt the proposed changes by Council District 2 and incorporate the final amendments by the planning department made just now to item 2 and 5.
And as to the appeal, Councilman, by the appellant, that would be grant in part, deny in part?
Grant in part and deny in part.
Okay. As modified further?
As modified further, yes. Okay. Any objections? No objections, so ordered. Thank you. Next item we will go to is back to the regularly scheduled agenda meeting. And start with multiple agenda item comment. We have none. We will now go to
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
So we're going to adjourn the special and reconvene the regular meeting at this time.
Thank you. We will adjourn the special meeting and open up the regularly scheduled meeting for today. And now go to multiple agenda item comments. There are none. We will now go to the consent calendar unless the public has pulled a consent item with a public comment card, which is item number 2. Can we read that into the record, please?
Sure. Item 2, Councilman, this is a modification to a previously imposed Q condition for a vesting zone change, and the project, or the modification rather, it's for a project in CD4.
Okay. We will approve that item on consent. There are no public comment cards. Item number 9, we have one comment card. We'll hear that item. Item number 11, there are no public comment cards. Can you read that item so we could approve it on consent?
Item 11, Councilman, this is a hardship exemption application by Kyle Bui, and it's a proposed addition to the existing single-family home in CD4.
Okay, thank you. We will approve that on consent with no objections. Item number 12, we have no comment cards. Can you read that into the record, please?
Sure, Councilman. Item 12 is a hardship exemption application submitted by Juan Arias from the BMO ordinance, and this is also for demo of 938 square footage to a single-family residence and the construction of 1,435 square feet. The property is located in CD11.
Thank you. We will approve that item on consent without any objections. So we will now go to the action items, and we will begin with item number 1, a report from the Director of Planning. Welcome, Mr. Bertoni.
Thank you, Chair Wizard, members of the committee. Briefly, the City Planning Commission recently recommended approval on new residential zones as part of the Recode LA. This is where there's the 16 variants of the R1 zones plus 1 rear garage overlay. This is a substantial move forward in terms of trying to create zoning for our neighborhoods that are more reflective of the individual neighborhoods and to make it more customized. In addition to that, there was 15 communities that had interim control ordinances that we actually were going to apply these new zones to. So we first created the zones and then applied them initially to these 15 neighborhoods that have interim control ordinances applied to them, and over time would apply them to the rest of the city. So the Planning Commission has already taken action and is forwarding that to the City Council, so you should have that to you early next year for your consideration. Also on their meeting for this week, a few items that could be of interest. They'll be dealing with haul route and grading requirements for the Bel Air hillside areas, as well as they'll be hearing an item to make a recommendation to the full City Council regarding accessory dwelling units, abbreviated as ADUs, and that's the case with that's also accessory dwelling units, are better known as granny flats in some situations, and that's where the state has significantly revised the state law that actually has certain mandates for local jurisdictions to comply with, and we will need to come into compliance January 1st. So this we expect to have delivered from the Planning Commission to the City Council by the end of this year. And that concludes my report, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions for our Mr. Bertoni, our Planning Director? Okay, we will note and file item number 1. Going back to item number 9, if that could be read into the record, please.
Sure. Item 9, Councilman, this is a CPC recommended general plan amendment. It's actually the disapproval of various entitlements, a general plan amendment, a zone change. It's for a 88-unit apartment building located in CD5, and there's an associated appeal by Laura Flalo.
Is that a question?
Yeah, I couldn't make up the last name.
Okay, thank you.
So I defer to you.
All right, I can't answer that, so we'll move on. On item number 9, I understand that there's been a request for a time extension for 120 days as requested by the applicant and Council District 5. We are inclined to grant this. It was on our consent calendar, but if there is anything to add from the applicant or appellant, we will take that at this time. Veronica Becerra, the rep, are you here? Okay. Anything to add from that? We're going to, it was your request, correct? And it's been in writing? Is it in writing? Did we get it in writing? Somebody should know that.
I waive my right to speak today. I agree with that.
Okay, great. And yes, and this does not confine your speaking time for the next time we hear it. So,
And Councilman, if I may interject, this item is also scheduled in council tomorrow.
it's scheduled in council tomorrow.
So I presume that the action in the committee report would be to grant the continuance.
Okay. So it's scheduled in council tomorrow for the purpose of granting the extension, correct?
That is my understanding, as it would be reflected in the committee report.
Okay, and so for purposes of public comment, do we take that now, or do we leave it open and continue the public comment? Because if we take it now, we have several options. We could take the public comment now and close public comment, which we probably don't want to do because we're not getting to the merits of the issue today. Or we could, can we decide not to take public comment today?
Because you're continuing the item, you don't have to take public comment at this time, and you would have to reopen it at the time that you hear the appeal. It would be a due process matter.
Okay, we will reserve the public comment for the time this item comes up again. But if somebody on our staff could remind us that we need to reopen public comment so that we do that appropriately. Okay. Thank you. So we will continue this item, move it to full council with a request that we grant the time extension for 120 days as requested by the applicant in Council District 5. Any objections? Yes, Mr. Cedillo? No? Oh. So ordered. Thank you. Item number 3 and 4, we will take together.
Yes, so item 3, Councilman, This is a CPC and Planning Department reports. On item 3, it's the Karthe Square HPOC. This comes to this committee via a 245 motion. And item 4 is the preservation plan for the HPOC.
Okay. And before we get a presentation from staff, for purposes of public comment, we got a bunch of cards here that some people filled out 3 and 4. Some people filled out 3, others 4. I need to take both, right? If people filled out both, they get 2 minutes. So how do we do this?
If you have public comment cards for the related items, then members can get up to 2 minutes. So if they wanted to speak on just the preservation plan, if there's a way to distinguish that, those folks can get 1 minute, or you can, if it's easier for implementation, everyone can get 2.
Okay, we'll figure that out. Thank you. Welcome.
Good afternoon. My name is Blair Smith from the Office of Historic Resources HPOZ unit at the Department of City Planning. I'm here to present to you the proposed Karthe Square Historic Preservation Overlay Zone. Karthe Square is located in the Wilshire Community Plan area and is adjacent to 2 existing HPOZs, Karthe Circle to the north and South Karthe to the west. On July 21st, 2016, the Cultural Heritage Commission certified the Karthe Square Historic Resources Survey. Architecturally, Karthe Square is significant for its concentration of buildings dating from the 1920s to the 1940s, associated with the period revival movement. Of the 347 buildings within the surveyed area, 321 were found to be contributing structures, and 26 were found to be non-contributing. With a 93% contribution rate, Karthe Square would be one of the most intact HPOZs in the city. On September 8, 2016, the City Planning Commission adopted the Karthe Square Preservation Plan. A preservation plan summarizes the review procedures for work on homes in the district. The plan contains tailored design guidelines, which were developed with a working group and respond to the unique needs and preferences of the community. In particular, staff worked with stakeholders to prepare a draft preservation plan sensitive to the community's desire for flexibility on the side and rear facades. As such, the preservation plan focuses review on strict conformance with preservation standards on the primary facade and allows for more flexibility on windows alterations on the side and rear facades. On November 23rd, a Charter Section 245 motion was adopted by the City Council to assert jurisdiction over the City Planning Commission's decision on the preservation plan. Council District 5 staff will be presenting additional proposed amendments to the preservation plan. Today, you will be considering the 245 motion and the preservation plan first as item 3, and later you will be considering the overall HPOZ adoption and boundaries as item 4. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We'll reserve our questions for now and go to public comment. Council District 5, Sean Bayless, do you wish to speak now? I would hope you will, to outline why the Section 245, et cetera, and what proposed changes you have.
Certainly. Sean Bayless from Council District 5. Before you today is the Karthe Square Historic Preservation Overlay Zone. There are 2 matters related to this. The first is the ordinance itself, which is the result of nearly a decade's worth of hard work from the community, from our office, and certainly from staff as well. Councilmember Kretz is in wholehearted support of that historic preservation overlay zone and hopes it moves forward today with its ultimate approval. The second part of that is the 245. Legitimate community concerns became available shortly after the City Planning Commission's decision. Unlike other approvals in the city, the HPOZ preservation plan stops at the City Planning Commission. It became necessary for our office to initiate a 245 so we could address those community concerns and see if there was a way to address them, and we feel like we've done that today. So with regards to that second point, the 245, you'll find in the file, I believe, a strikeout version which shows relatively easily the changes that were made. To go over them briefly, we've got a higher density R3 zone along Olympic that had concerns with regards to opposing regulations as it relates to the HPOZ, which is there for historic preservation, versus the municipal code, which is there for the preservation of tenants' rights and abilities. We believe we've addressed that concern. It's outlined under exemptions. And then additionally, we heard from community folks the concern of dealing with out-of-view or unvisible portions of the plan and how those unvisible portions are dealt with in the currently draft HPOZ. We've met with the community. We feel like we've made those needed corrections. It is by no means perfect, meaning not everyone's going to get everything that they want. However, we've gone an awfully long way at addressing those community concerns because, again, at the end of the day, the community must live with these regulations, and while we find HPOZs to be an extremely important tool that enhances a community, we want to make sure that, one, everyone understands them, and two, they understand how it works, and that everyone is as happy as can be. You'll see those changes also outlined in the strikeout version of the Historic Preservation Overlay Plan. But again, we want to see, we ask your support on those amendments to the plan outlined under the 245 in the strikeout document, and we'd also ask that the HPOZ ordinance move forward.
Great. Thank you. Now for the remainder of the public comment, each individual will be given 2 minutes. A majority of the cards that were submitted asked to speak on both 3 and 4, but just to be fair, even if you just mark to speak in either 3 or 4, you will be granted the 2 minutes. You don't have to take them, but you'll have them available. Eric Feinberg, Kurt Lukert, Neil Collier, and Eric Feinberg, I think, is in the overflow room, so if they make their way over here, we could start with the other speakers. Kurt Lukert or Neil Collier?
Good afternoon. My name is Kurt Lukert, and I am a property owner, and I am against the Karthe Square HPOZ. Thank you.
Thank you. Neil Collier, Ruth Ann Lehrer, Karen Dunn. Welcome.
Hi, my name is Neil Collier. I'm a proud owner and strong supporter of the Karthe Square HPOZ. I've been an owner for 15 years. I've seen this neighborhood, which is a fantastic neighborhood, undergo some pretty ill-informed changes that have resulted in some pretty drastic damage to some of the properties, and therefore I've definitely voiced my support behind this initiative. And at the end of the day, this HPOZ, while it definitely does not address everybody's concerns, I think it's extremely well drafted. It's been an effort that's been extremely long. I've been involved in it for over a decade, and I'm really proud of the effort that everyone's put into this to make it something that I think will ultimately result in preserving the neighborhood integrity the way it was originally envisioned. Thank you.
Thank you. Ruth Ann Lehrer.
I'm Ruth Ann Lehrer, and I'm in support of the preservation plan and the HPOZ for Karthe Square. I purchased a duplex in Karthe Square in 2010 with the hope that the HPOZ would be enacted for this neighborhood, which has an amazingly high concentration of historic homes, 93%. It's a beautiful area of old Los Angeles from the 1930s, with not only unified historic streetscapes, but a racially diverse population. Only an HPOZ could adequately protect this neighborhood, a goal that the Neighborhood Association has been working on since 2008. I urge you to support the HPOZ and Preservation Plan as amended. Rule 245 was invoked in order to address last-minute concerns of some HPOZ opponents. Through negotiation and compromise, we now have a plan that has been amended to address those issues. The majority of Karthe Square residents who support the HPOZ are counting on you to uphold the plan as it now stands that we've worked very hard to get to, and we hope that you will support us. Councilmember Karthe has helped us from the very beginning, starting in 2008, and he's worked with us all the way through, and I know that he will also appreciate your support. So please adopt the HPOZ and the preservation plan as presented. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Karen Dunn. I am a property owner, bought my home in Karthe Square in 2010. I would support the HPOZ with slightly more compromise and modification. I appreciate the compromise that has been made in the last few days. We have 2 children, and as they're getting older, feel that we need more space. We do support the efforts to maintain the historic character of the neighborhood. However, I would like to see all language discouraging second-story additions to single-family homes removed from the plan. If we decide that we want to move forward with a second-story addition, we should be able to start by having an architect design an addition that meets the guidelines of the preservation plan, not with an argument about whether or not a second-story addition to our home is appropriate. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome. You are?
My name is Eric Feinberg.
Okay.
You work here. This is an amazing room. My name's Eric Feinberg. I'm a resident at 1219 South Point View in Karthe Square. I'm fully in support of the HPOZ action. Karthe Square sits geographically and literally in the middle of Los Angeles' rich history and absolutely dynamic future. I believe that every time I drive to and from it, because we're right in the middle. As your own website states, HPOZs were created, and I quote, recognizing the need to identify and protect neighborhoods with distinct architectural and cultural resources, end quote. Karthe Square is this gem. We are distinct. We are in need. And this body here, our council members, are in a unique space and place to help us preserve this very, very important piece of Los Angeles history. So I just wanted to thank you, and I appreciate your vote in favor of the HPOZ. Thank you.
Thank you. Eric Rosen, Douglas Evans, Nathan Pearl Rosenthal. Welcome.
Welcome, thank you. My name is Eric Rosen, and on behalf of the many young families who have two working parents and young children that were not able to attend today's meeting, I want to say that we appreciate the flexibility that has been afforded to us in the updated HPOZ language. There are certain portions of it that still need to be adjusted, I believe. I mean, Sean Bayless put it, these are changes that we're all going to have to live with, and the people that will have to live with it for the longest are the young families that are now here. I also have two young children, 5 and 3, and I don't want to enter into the mode of putting on a second story from a place of an argument where it's discouraged to begin with. I want to stay in Karthe. I like the look and feel. I came into this whole thing opposed to an HPOZ as a whole, and I've seen the benefits of it. I like the way Karthe looks. I want the look and feel to be preserved. I don't want McMansions next to us. I like my light. I also want to be able to put a second story on and want that to be something that I don't have to fight for tooth and nail. And I'm happy to go along with the ordinances that the HPOZ has in place to make sure that it does fit the look and feel of the neighborhood. And I think that's also further represented by, once again, the number of young families that have moved in. There's 83 parcels that have turned over since the initial canvass had been done. Most of those are young families. And I know that all of us would like to stay here. It's a beautiful neighborhood. I'm strongly opposed to the use of the word discourage with respect to building a second story on single-family homes, and also the apparent favoritism of a rear rather than a second-story addition regarding building a second story, meaning build it in the backyard if you have the space. Other than that, I do support the HPOZ in general, conceptually, and with just a few small changes that Councilman Kretz has the ability to make. I think that we're just about at the finish line, and I look forward to seeing this thing all the way through.
Thank you. Welcome.
Hello, my name is Douglas Evans, and I support the preservation plan that's before you for the Karthe Square HPOZ. My wife and I have lived in a duplex at 1167-69 South Hayworth for the past 15 years, and we have great admiration for the unique property of our neighborhood, which is it's so architecturally consistent, and we need the protection of an HPOZ to keep it that way. I also want to thank Sean Bayless, the team at the Office of Historic Resources, and my many neighbors for their tireless efforts to protect this special area of LA with an HPOZ for the past 14 years. We've been working very long and very hard at this project and have many delays, but we still persevere because we really believe in it, and we're asking you to support it. So I also stand before you to again reiterate my request that you accept the preservation plan as it is today with with no further revisions, and to go forward and adopt this tomorrow. Many people have debated and revised this plan ad nauseum. It's had lots and lots of voices on it. It's a representative of the majority of our neighborhood, and I ask you to act now without further delay. Thank you.
Thank you. Nathan, Jessica Marglin, Richard Isles, Heidi Feldstein. Welcome.
Hello. Thank you, council members. Thank you for hearing us. My name is Nathan Pearl Rosenthal, and I live at 1110 South High Point Street, and I am also part of one of the young families that's recently moved into the neighborhood. We bought our home 2 years ago, knowing that the HPOZ process was underway, and not knowing very much about it. And since moving there, we found out much more about it and are strongly in support of it. The neighborhood is not only beautiful and historic, but also has a wonderful community feel. It's racially and ethnically diverse, it's socioeconomically diverse, and part of preserving that's been created in part by this wonderful landscape that's there, and which we hope the City Council will help preserve. So I would also ask that you approve the plan with no further changes. I think, as you've heard, that Councilman Kratz's office has done enormous work to respond to community voices both for and against, and I hope you'll take that action to ratify the efforts that his office has made to find a meeting of the minds. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jessica Marglin. I'm a homeowner in Karthe Square, and I strongly support the HPOZ plan as it is currently. I have owned my home for 2 years, and we bought it understanding that the HPOZ was underway and very much sort of banking on it being approved. And frankly, we're surprised that it's taken this long, and it's taken even longer since before we bought it. So we think that there's been plenty of dialogue and compromise, and not everybody's going to be happy, but we feel strongly that it should be approved now as is. We are a young family. Our daughter is 4, and we have another one on the way. And one of the things that we love so much about this neighborhood is precisely how beautiful it is. We have millions of visitors because all of our family is on the East Coast, and they always say how much they love walking around in our neighborhood, how much they love the houses, the yards, the look, the feel, and that's something we want to keep for our children. Thank you.
Richard Isles, Heidi Feldstein, Louise Nerdshoff.
Council members, I'm Richard Ailes, a 29-year owner and resident of a duplex in Carthage Square, and one of the over 225 residents who signed a petition opposing the preservation plan of the Planning Department as written. The recent December 8th strikeout revisions to the plan have addressed a number of the essential concerns of this. Most of those individuals who've signed that petition are in favor of creation of an HPOZ light. The December 8th strikeout revisions have significantly addressed a number of the concerns of this pro-HPOZ light group, but more needs to be addressed in the following respect. The plan unfairly discriminates against young families with single-family homes by including language that effectively creates a strong presumption against second-story additions, even if carefully designed to preserve the historic architecture within the volume limitations of the plan and baseline mansionization ordinance. Second, the exemption for facades not visible from the street should include windows, doors, and fenestrations. Lastly, the exception added to the Olympic Avenue properties for compliance with the RSO and other laws should be extended to include all properties with 2 or more dwellings in the R2 zone, as all of us multifamily owners face the same issues of compliance with potentially conflicting laws and should not be discriminated against. Thank you.
Thank you.
Richard wishes he was 29.
Good afternoon. My name's Heidi Feldstein, and I live at 1122 South Hayworth.
Do you know Richard, or that was just a random?
I know most of the neighbors in this
Oh, okay.
room. I've been sort of a visible figure, much to my chagrin. I'd like to start off by saying that I bought my property in November of 2015. I saw the plan that was in effect then, and I actually handed it out to all of City Council at the 245 motion hearing the Tuesday after Thanksgiving. I reviewed what was in place, and I purchased my property with a view to those limitations. I did not receive notice of the hearings this year. The current iteration of the plan was not available until June of this year, and a lot of us didn't even know to look for it because the notices never said that there was any change from what we had bought into. So you have a very light plan from 08 to 16, and then you have a change in 16 without notice to homeowners. There are 226 homeowners who signed an HPOZ petition opposed to the current plan as drafted. I have tried to touch base with as many of them as possible before showing up here today. Procedurally, I want to reserve everybody's rights with respect to notice, anybody who signed that petition. Substantively, there are just 3 issues, and I really would urge folks to try to come together on them. The first is the second-story addition, from which you've heard so eloquently about from others, and I won't spend more time on it other than to say that there is very strong support for second-story additions, and that the young families who oppose it already have a second story by and large. The second thing I will say is that doors, windows, and fenestrations on non-visible portions of the rear and side yards were always exempted under the plan. There is no basis in aesthetics or otherwise for this kind of regulation, and we should not have to, in addition to going to building and safety, come hat in hand to the Office of Historic Resources for rear-facing windows or converting a window into a deck. The last thing is that there are 2 key areas for implementation. OHR has promised that they would be responsive and flexible. Most of our neighbors who've tried to reach out have waited more than 2 months for an answer. I would ask OHR to hold true to that promise. Thank you.
Louise, Leah Bergman, Raul Castaneda, and Steve Sacol.
Hello, my name is Louise Nemshoff. I am a resident and property owner of a multifamily unit in Karthe Square. I am opposed to the current iteration of the HPOZ plan as it does not adequately address all of the major concerns. I'm not talking about the minor concerns and general concerns to the concept. I would like to join in the comments of all the other speakers who oppose this agenda item. I have just 3 points. One, notice of the current iteration of this plan and of these hearings was inadequate, as has been the case with prior hearings and prior iterations of the plan. We only got the current iteration of this plan about 24 hours ago. That was not adequate time to review it. We only had 3 or 4 days notice of this hearing. And notices were not sent to all the residents and property owners. They were only sent to people who had been at prior hearings. I join in the complaint about the Olympic landlord exemption. This should be extended to all parties who own 2 or more unit properties in the area. It's discriminatory, and I join particularly in the exemption for non-visible from windows, doors, and fenestrations that are non-visible from the streets. There is no justification whatsoever for including those in the plan, as they do not affect in any way the aesthetics of the neighborhood. They only add additional burdens and costs to the property owners. I would urge you strongly, I would also say that this current plan is not a compromise. There were a few minor concessions that were made, and it does not address, it is not a compromise at all. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Leah Bergman. I own a home in Carthage Square that was my childhood home and has been in my family for just shy of 60 years. I feel that the 73-page proposed plan, which we never got to see until late June, and a copy of which was never sent to each homeowner as it should have been, is still too restrictive, and I disagree with it. There may have been a decade of work on this ordinance, but it was revealed to us so late that there was no chance for critical discussion among the homeowners. Anything not visible from the street should be excluded from
review. Second stories on single-family homes should not have the word discouraged written in the plan. There are already duplexes and second-story homes all over the neighborhood. My tiny home, where my children and 4- and 6-year-old grandchildren live, has to be livable for a 21st century family with children, and it will lose value unless it can be made that way. As stated by another speaker, words have significance. I ask that any HPOZ board that may be formed in the future include members whose views reflect the divided opinions in our neighborhood so that it can be a balanced board. And I would like to make sure that you understand also that I'm reserving all my rights in this matter as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is
One second, please. Gentleman behind you, Herman. Yes, you, Herman. You come to these meetings you come to every meeting. I just want to make that the public aware of who you are. And you disrupt these meetings, and you know what the rules are. We did not call you up, so can you please take a seat? Thank you. Go ahead.
As I said, my name is Raul Castaneda. I've been a resident of this community for 30 years, and I oppose the current state of the HPOZ because it's so restrictive, and also because we've never really had notice. Everybody has eloquently spoken regarding their objections to additions and so forth, and I said I oppose as it stands. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon. I thought you were talking to me back there.
Yeah.
My name's Stephen Sokol. I am here today on behalf of the 94% of the multifamily property owners along Olympic Boulevard. We're pleased that a compromise revising the plan previously approved by the Planning Commission was reached, which will permit us to continue to manage our properties responsibly in accordance with all applicable laws and for the benefit of owners and tenants alike. We want to express our appreciation to Councilmember Koretz, his Chief Deputy, Sean Bayless, Ken Bernstein, and Blair Smith of the City Planning Department, and the pro-HPOZ organizers for understanding and respecting our unique situation and for their constructive efforts, which have resulted in our reaching a workable solution for all the stakeholders. We urge the committee to recommend to the City Council that the Karthe Square HPOZ plan be approved as newly revised. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Cheryl Cuffel, Daniel Cuffel, Rebecca Axelrod, Brian Harris.
Hello, I'm Cheryl Cuffel, and I believe I am in a unique position to speak on behalf of our neighborhood. For 4 generations, dating back to the 1940s, at the same Karthe Square address, my family has lived in this beautiful community. I fully support and am passionate about the HPOZ proposal for consideration on behalf of past, current, and future generations who will live in Karthe. Please allow us to maintain the classic old Hollywood style living in our unique to the area duplexes, Spanish revival, and traditional homes without the threat of teardowns and mansionization. These original homes are impeccably constructed with quality materials and gorgeous styling. And I hope you agree that keeping the history and integrity of our community intact requires passing of the HPOZ. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Dan Cuffel, also from Karthe Square. I've lived there for 25 years, and I love and value the beauty and historic nature of this neighborhood. I appreciate the HPOZ process and my neighbors' deep dedication to working to bring this process to fruition. It's been a lot of work. I'm hopeful that you will listen to all of us who have so much of our lives invested in our homes and neighborhood and approve the Karthe Square HPOZ. Please listen to the longtime stakeholders, the people involved in developing the plan, and the vast majority of residents, and not a few loud naysayers who declined to participate in the development of this plan. I ask you to approve the HPOZ as is currently written and without delay. Thank you.
Thank you.
resident of Carthage Square since 1997, and it's good to hear that people on both sides of this argument like the way our neighborhood looks. The question is, what rights do we retain? The original HPOZ light was very favorable. It was not worked on for quite some time due to it sitting on a desk. When it finally came back to life, it had changed. It's no longer what we signed up for. I like the looks of it. I like the neighbors. I like living there, but I want control over my own home. As has been said, a second story that looks like other second stories that have been in this kind of a neighborhood that fit, I think should be allowed. The back of the house, which can't be seen, windows and doors, let me do what I need to do in order let me do what I need to do. It would be nice if we could have some more feedback from the office. I have had calls in for questions about what I can and cannot do since July, and I have not gotten a call back yet. I would appreciate timely and flexible responses, as I understood were going to be forthcoming. Also, if and when this goes through, and I really do hope it goes through with the changes, what picture is going to be used as the starting point? The picture that I saw in June at the meeting of my home is what it looked like 2008. It's not what it looks like now. Do I need to take a picture? Is somebody else going to take the picture? Where do I send it? I don't want to find out that work that I did 2 years ago has to be knocked down. There's also going to be a committee to approve and not approve. I understand they're coming from different places. The historic city, the neighborhood, I think that everybody who pays taxes and lives in our neighborhood should have a right to choose who from our neighborhood is going to be on that committee, not to be appointed. Sad to say, between loving neighbors, there have been some problems in the last several months, which were not there before. I'd like to see our neighborhood come together. I'd like to see it stay beautiful, and I'd like to see us have the freedom to use our homes and not to live in a museum. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Ryan Harris. Not here. Larry Mond. M-O-N-D, I think, or M-O, yes. Annette Matosian, Peter Merlin, and Roberta Bloom. Welcome.
Hi, my name is Larry Mond. I live on High Point Street in Carthage Square. I'm a homeowner, and I've been there since 2001. I really love Carthage Square. It's a lovely area. The houses are beautiful. The neighborhood has just a vibe of a lovely, vibrant community. And the reason that I'm in favor of the HPOZ is that I want to keep it that way. I've strolled other streets nearby, Drexel Avenue, for example, and it's just been decimated by beautiful houses, but ones that completely destroy the feeling and the neighborhood that was there before. And I'm hoping that the HPOZ will allow Karthe to remain the beautiful community that it is. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Annette Matosian. I urge you to vote in favor of the Carthage Square HPOZ in its present form. As a resident and owner of this community for over 35 years, I am fully aware of the need to protect this historic district. This is an incredibly intact neighborhood architecturally. It is certain to lose valuable properties as soon as the ICO runs out in March if you do not follow the recommendations of the Office of Historic Resources, the Cultural Heritage Commission, and the City Planning Commission. It is devastating to see what is happening to some of the neighborhoods in our city. So please support our HPOZ. Thank you so much.
My name is Peter Merlin. I live at 1118 Pointview Street in Carthage Square. I've lived there for 35 years. I'm a retired architect and a member of the Neighborhood Steering Committee. I've been active in forming the HPOZ from the beginning, a decade. After years of delay until the city could afford to rehire staff, we were finally given the green light to move forward again. For the time being, there is an interim control ordinance. We're protected until March of 2017, but that expires. and then we will be vulnerable again. There has been some opposition just in the last 2 months based on a misunderstanding of the preservation plan, but this plan is more flexible than many others. Olympic owners' concerns and other opponents have been accommodated by meetings with staff and preservation plan changes. Now the necessity is closure. For this process to end, the HPOZ should be approved by you today and adopted by the City Council tomorrow. Thank you very much.
My name is Roberta Bloom. I've been a resident of Karthe Square since 1989, and as you can all hear, we love our neighborhood. I strongly support the HPOZ. You're approving the HPOZ as it is currently written because this has been going on for 10 years, and it is time for closure and for you to help us make a decision. Thank you.
Thank you. David Schulman, Lenny Gerber, Roberta McDonald.
My name is David Schulman. I support your adoption of the plan today. I've been a Carthage Square homeowner for 19 years. I'm a retired attorney. In fact, I served this city for 32 years as a member of the Los Angeles City Attorney's Office. When I first learned some neighbors were pursuing an HPOZ 10 years ago, I was curious to view a neighborhood process from the neighborhood side. I have been so impressed. The steering committee has been persistent. It incorporated new points of view, as did city staff. Everyone involved in that process understood that neighborhood preservation has two components: preserving buildings and preserving neighborhood relationships. I have seen a process that has valued both. 18 months ago, I was asked to join the committee that reviewed the preservation plan that was recently changed and is before you now. I was impressed by what I observed when I met with other members of that committee over 10 times. Everyone, city staff, and my neighbors worked hard. They listened to each other. They were flexible. They came up with something far more flexible than previous HPOZs. This is a new, more flexible template for new HPOZs to come. I'm proud, both of my neighbors and of the city staff I worked with. I'm convinced that now is a time for closing arguments, and that you bring the gavel down at the end of this hearing and adopt the plan as is today. It's good to see you again.
Good, thank you.
Hello, my name is Lenny Gerber, and I'm a resident and an owner of a duplex on Point View Street in Carthe Square, where I've lived since 1979. I support the Carthe Square HPOZ 100% as it is presented to you today after 10 years of community effort. Thanks to the OHR and the CD5 staff for assisting in the final version of the preservation plan, which includes concerns of the Olympic property owners and others. Olympic Boulevard is the gateway to our community. And with HPOZs in Carthe Circle and South Karthe, the historic architecture from our period of significance will span from Fairfax to La Cienega. Without doubt, the residential architecture of Carthe Square is worth preserving. I urge you to approve the Carthe Square Preservation Plan and HPOZ without further revisions today. Thank you very much.
Hi,
I'm Roberta O'Donnell, and I don't have the privilege of living in Carthe Square, but I was permitted to assist in an ancillary way in the survey, and I've gotten to know many of the people here. Living in an HPOZ myself, I could say that something that we say frequently about HPOZs is that they're greater than the sum of their parts. Everything that your neighbor does helps you if it's historically accurate. So recently there's been a great deal of opposition that has been whipped up in a neighboring HPOZ that has spilled over and infected Carthe Square. And I just want to say that none of their prognostications actually fit with what happens in real HPOZs. There's no HPOZ that wants to go back to being an unprotected area. So please, after all this time, please consider taking in Carthe Square as an HPOZ.
Thank you. Adrian Scott Fine. Mary Louise Morgan, Judy Patterson, Mary Christine Tevison, Stephen Houston, or Huston. Welcome.
Good afternoon, Adrian Scott Fine with the Los Angeles Conservancy. We're here in full support of the Carthe Square proposed HPOZ. I do want to thank Councilman Koretz for his leadership, his staff, Sean Bayless for everything he's been doing, the staff of OHR, and especially the residents who have worked so hard and so many years to get here today. HPOZs, I think as many of you know, are one of the single most important tools for neighborhood preservation in Los Angeles, and it's worked so well in so many other neighborhoods, and we think it could do the same here. There's a lot of talk about the preservation plan. We're in support of that as it is now. It's a flexible tool. It's a tool that allows neighborhoods still to make choices and essentially manage change, not freeze change. So there's a lot of misconceptions about how HPOZs operate. So we want to offer our full support and encourage your support of this and adoption and allow the Carthe Square HPOZ to move forward. Thank you.
I'm Mary Louise Morgan. I've lived in Carthe Square for 57 years. I think I'm the oldest resident there. I mean, lived there the longest time. And I've been an active supporter of Carthe Square HPOZ since the idea surfaced 15 years ago. As you have heard, Carthe Square is a treasure trove of 1920 and 1930 architecture and has significance historically for the development of housing in the city of Los Angeles. I served on the committee that drafted the preservation plan under the guidance and with the sharp minds of representatives from the Office of Historic Resources. And I want to thank them for all the help that they provided. We are here today to respectfully request your approval of our HPOZ with no further changes to the preservation plans, and to recommend its adoption to the City Council. I thank you for this opportunity to address the committee. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I distribute that to the council members? Thank you to the council members for all your efforts in establishing HPOZs in our city, and thank you to my neighbors for the hard work that they have put into planning our proposed HPOZ. My name is Judy Patterson, and I've lived in Carthe Square for almost 20 years. I've seen our area go from a nice neighborhood with a lot of potential and a smattering of restored homes to a neighborhood of homes and duplexes worth well over $1 million. Many of them are now restored and renovated. Land values have now become so high that it's prompted developers to tear down a few homes, rebuild oversized superstructures, and sell at a profit. And if you could refer to the images that I've handed out to the council, which shows 2 McMansions built and a renovation that is also overbuilt and beyond recognition. As reported in the Los Angeles Times, these developments are an assault to those who live in their neighborhoods. They are too big, their architecture doesn't fit in, they tear apart the fabric of neighborhoods. Once they are built, they cannot be unbuilt. Please pass our HPOZ for the people who love Carthe Square and have waited patiently for 8 years for it to become a reality. No HPOZ will ever be perfect, but it's the best tool we have to preserve what we still have. Thank you for your time, and please support our current plan with no revisions.
Good afternoon. My name is Stephen Houston, and I live at 1033 High Point Street. I've been there for 15 years, and it's a single-family home that is a contributing structure to the HPOZ. My family arrived from Sweden here to Los Angeles in 1890. I guess that makes me a 5th-generation Angelino. My great-grandfather's brother was a builder in the 1920s and 1930s. He built homes like what we see in Carthe Square. I'm proud to have lived in Los Angeles for such a long time. However, my family and I have seen many changes in the architectural fabric in Los Angeles. Some of them good, some of them not so much. The HPOZ for Carthe Square is a good change. I recommend that you approve the preservation plan as it's submitted, and I fully support that plan as well. I'm actually thrilled to think about in an HPOZ, I could benefit from free architectural design and advice from such a board. I'm willing to spend more money to help keep my home in its condition as it was originally built. I'm fine with spending more money. I'm not a wealthy person, but it's my home. I love my home, and I'm fine to, if that's what's needed, is to pay a little bit more for windows or for other areas that will help to sustain the area's beauty. Again, I support the HPOZ effort, and I ask you to do so as well.
Mary Doris Felsen, Charlotte Williams, and Helen Page. Madam, are you, what's your name?
I'm Mary Christine.
Into the microphone, please. We can't hear you unless you speak into the microphone.
I'm Mary Christine Tuvison.
Yes, you're next. You speak up now. Okay. Thank you.
I live at 1119 High Point Street, but I have lived in the neighborhood since 1973. And one of the appeals of this neighborhood is its amazing, beautiful architecture. And I so want to see that preserved. I see the mess that's on the other side of La Cienega to the west of us. And I know the potential for the destruction of the character and quality of this area. And I also want to be sure that everything is kept in the with its historical integrity. This neighborhood is a community, and I want it to stay that way. So please go ahead and approve this HPOZ. The concerns against it are a small price to pay for this valuable treasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Doris Felsen. My husband and I bought our house over 50 years ago. I have seen a lot of changes take place here, and a lot of them are very ugly. And I truly believe we should support the HPOZ, and it should be approved. There are a lot of things in life isn't perfect. I'd like to be 16 again. I'm not going to be.
but I think we have a good plan, and let's go ahead and approve it. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Charlotte Williams, and I've been in Carthe Square more than 35 years. I've raised 3 daughters, 4 granddaughters, and a grandson, and I now have 8 great-grandkids who are in and out. They don't live there all the time, okay? But we are very, very happy to live in Carthe Square. And it's a beautiful neighborhood, and I definitely am in favor of the HPOZ. We've worked very hard getting to where we are today. Please do what you have to do to pass it. Thank you.
Charlotte, Helen Page, Teresa Dahl, and Marion Piggle.
Excuse me, my name is Helen Page, and I've been a homeowner for 40 years. And I have been working to get the HPOZ ever since its inception. And I'm really disturbed that someone who's only been in the area for a couple of years or so wanted to come in and undo all that we have done. And I support it 100%, and I hope that you will listen to the people who have been in there and who have worked hard to keep this beautiful neighborhood. And I support it, and I hope you will support us too.
Hello, my name is Teresa Dahl. I'm a homeowner in Carthe Circle with children, here to support my friends and neighbors in Carthe Square in their desire to protect and preserve their community. I think I'm excited about all of the development in this city, and Wilshire's going up next to us, and there's rail going in under us, and I'm excited about this, and I think this is a wonderful opportunity to save this small area, preserve this small piece of history of Los Angeles in the midst of all this beautiful growth. And I urge you to support this measure going forward today as it is. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Marion Piggy, and I wanted to thank the council for their consideration of this HPOZ. I've been a proud homeowner of a duplex in Carthe Square since 1988. My building was built in 1929. I'm very proud of it, very proud of our community and its architectural integrity. I strongly request that you approve the HPOZ.
Michelle Mena, Susan Sanford, Susan Nickerson, Stephen Leftman.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Michelle Mena. I live at 1041 South Hayworth. I once had a conversation with some friends who lived on the East Coast discussing architecture. They said, and when I appreciate the architecture on the East Coast and things such as plaque houses, they said, what LA architecture? I was offended by that because I love the architecture that exists here. I moved here I moved to Hayworth in 2002, and I had as a tenant, and then had the opportunity in 2008 to purchase, which my family and I jumped at. We love the neighborhood. I learned at that time about what happened to the Karthe Center Theater, and I was horrified. So when I had the first opportunity to help protect our neighborhood, I got involved. I want to respond to the facts or the misinformation that was shared here today that notice was never given. Notice was given by mail. We all received it in the mail. We can't control what people throw away into their garbage as junk mail, and we can't force people to come to hearings when they choose not to. Many here also said, or several here said, that they were against this particular iteration. They're against all iterations. Many of them have been against the HPOZ from the onset. We buy to live in a neighborhood as it is, not for how we can destroy it. Our lots are not huge, and we want some privacy. None of us want balconies or windows staring down on us. We are a community and need to protect it. If we don't want anyone telling us what to do, there may still be some empty hills left in Greater LA.
Personally, I'm against the revisions because of their leniency, but I believe in compromise, and I can live with it. We are all grown-ups and can't always get what we want. As a realtor, I want to see Carthe Square have the same status as South Carthe and Carthe Circle instead of being their stepsister. HPOZs protect and increase property values. HPOZs are desirable. We have waited for over 8 years. Our time has come. Please approve today.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Susan Sanford, and I'm also a realtor, and my family and I have lived in 2 homes in Carthe Square for 28 years. We lived on Stearns, and we currently live on High Point. Before we had our second child, we lived in a 1,300 square foot house on Stearns, and we bought a larger home, a 2,300 square foot home on High Point. So there's the ability to move into a larger home in the neighborhood, not necessarily having to expand the home that you live in the neighborhood. I am in true support of the HPOZ as it stands. 93% of the properties are still contributors, and that will not be true without your help in this process, and to have it completed now. Councilmember Koretz and the detractors and the supporters worked together very hard to address the concerns that have been represented here, and they came to terms on those concerns. Not everybody is going to be happy with the HPOZ, but it's the best thing to preserve the architecture in our area. There has been, since Thanksgiving, some very, very painful negativity toward this from new-time members. And there was a statement that 86 properties have turned over. No, 46 properties have turned over in the last 3 years. There has been a lot of discussion. There have been public meetings that were held during this time period. People have been notified. So what I want to do is say, please listen to the 98% of the voices here instead of the 1% that speaks very loudly and speaks loudly on social media, and approve this plan today for my children's future in Carthe Square. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Susan Nickerson, and I'm a resident and owner in Carthe Square. I've been involved in the community for the entire 32 years that I've lived there. My community involvement went into hyperdrive 12 years ago when I got involved in our local neighborhood community public school, LAUSD school, and I got to know a lot of my neighbors at that time. There have been many meetings before and after OHR opened a case file. There were meetings at that school. You know, I'm a pack rat in my computer. I can go back, way back, and find the notices that went out about neighborhood meetings. The proponents and supporters were at each of these meetings, as well as some of those who were in opposition at every single meeting that I attended. There was opposition and support there. And some of those opposition people are here again today. They knew about those meetings. They were there. We have over 500 Los Angeles supporters who have signed in support in 1 week's time, who feel that Carthe Square is important to them. Second-story additions can be accomplished. The preservation plan is guidelines and flexible. OHR prides themselves on problem solving and making it a compatible project. We do have the most permissive HPOZ that has been written in Los Angeles to date, the most permissive. And we would ask you for neighborhood harmony, and so we can move on and start the healing process, and I am happy to help with that, and the education process, and helping people understand it's not as bad as they've been told by people who are misinformed, that you approve the December 8th plan with no further additions so we can move forward with the healing. The compromises have happened, and I will host the party at my house. Thank you.
Steve Luftman, Keith Nakata, Amy Gaudet, Tony Litwinko, Elizabeth Shapiro.
Honorable Council members, my name is Stephen Luftman. I live in South Carthe, the beautiful HPOZ just to the west of Carthe Square. It is time to tear down the wall, the theoretical wall that separates all the Karthes, and make Carthe Square an HPOZ. Thank you.
My name is Amy Galladay. I'm on the board of Beverly Wilshire Homeowners, and I don't live in South Carthe, Carthe Square, but I own property there. I wish I did. I live in Beverly Grove, where out of 700 homes, the developers got a hold of 70 homes, and they gargoylish. They do not fit in the neighborhood. As an artist, there is something called balance, and they don't use balance at all. I had a speech prepared, but my glasses fell down, and so I can't read it. So I'm talking from my heart. Please make Carthe Square an HPOZ. We've been waiting for years. I've owned the property. I just bought it 4 years ago in the hopes that it would be an HPOZ. It's like having health insurance or car insurance. We want insurance against some intrusive development coming next door to us that take away our sunlight and our privacy and the structure and the beauty and culture of our neighborhood. Thank you for listening.
Hi, my name is Elizabeth Shapiro, and I am Amy's tenant. I live on Olympic in Carthe Square. I moved from Melrose and Gardner, which used to be a really cute vintage neighborhood, and over the course of the 7 years of my living there, I was very dismayed, along with my neighbors, to see so many developers tear down so many of the cute houses. And now it's barely recognizable. I moved to Carthe Square because of how intact it was, the vintage character. I'm just a renter, but I take great pride in my home, and I know the other renters on Olympic feel the same way. And it makes me happy to be in a home that is not only so unique and has so many vintage details that I won't bore you with, but I adore, as Amy knows, but also is a piece. We're really part of this neighborhood, and that feels so wonderful. It's nice for my family and friends from out of town coming, and they always say, I just love your neighborhood. You have such a great neighborhood. And it would be such a shame to have what happened to my old neighborhood happen to this beautiful neighborhood. And it's also wonderful. I live in a home that was owned by Fred McMurray. It's a great piece of Hollywood history, and that's really wonderful too. So I urge you to please to make Carthe Square an HPOZ without any kind of adjustments to the proposal as it stands now. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon, council members. My name is Tony Litwinko. For going on 3 years now, I have lived on South Point View Street, right below Olympic Boulevard. And I speak as someone who first moved to Los Angeles in 1979 and lived on Kings Road, south of Beverly Boulevard, for many years. I'm familiar with this neighborhood, and I've always appreciated the historical feel to it. I moved to Glendale, to a historical neighborhood, and was very proud to live there from 1984 until I moved down here. I must tell you that as a recent tenant, because I live with my partner who owns the property and she could not be here, but as a recent tenant, I've been quite observant about everything. And I can guarantee you that when the HPOZ rules are abused and when huge developments go in, they stay unsold for months at a time. And houses that are built up within the consistency of the architecture sell and get resided in immediately. This HPOZ has been going on for a long time. I've read the flexibility. Even though I'm not a homeowner, I have read the documents. There is plenty of room for compromise with people who want to expand for their children. This is something that needs to be done now. We cannot let huge development chill the neighborhood. We have to preserve the warmth. Thank you very much.
Good. concludes our public comment. And if we could ask our staff to please come up. Mr. Herman, you know the rules here. You could go up and speak to the city clerk if there's a discrepancy. You disrupted the meeting once before, knowing you should not stand in the aisle when you did. Let this be your second warning. Thank you. Please go to the city clerk if you have concern. Thank you. We had a number, some testimony here, questions about second editions and other items. One of them that stuck out to me was the notice. Granted, there's always issues with notices when we hear these items, but on this one, Section 245, whenever there's a Section 245, are there any additional procedures in place that require the city to follow additional notice requirements, and were those followed?
Ken Bernstein, Department of City Planning staff. Thank you, Council Member. To address the concerns about notice, we did hear concerns about notice early in the process and just wanted to assure the Council that we did meet and exceed those notice requirements. There were public hearings, public meetings held in the neighborhood early in the process. We did hear from some homeowners who were newer to the neighborhood that perhaps those mailings did not reach them. These mailings took place last summer. However, as was indicated, the notice requirements were followed, and we had significant participation at all those community meetings. With respect to the more recent actions, the 245 motion is a legislative action of the Council, and the Council has the ability to assert jurisdiction over the matter and make changes to the preservation plan as had been adopted by the Planning Commission. We did work closely with Council District 5 staff, with community members in reaching agreement on those changes. There's a limited time frame when a 245 motion is introduced for the Council to act. Nevertheless, all the legal notice requirements and Brown Act requirements have been fulfilled, and additionally we uploaded with Council District 5's transmittal, the changes were uploaded to the Council file and available on the web as of last Friday.
Okay, thank you. And there were some, the proposed modifications proposed by Council District 5, those have been submitted today, or what's the vehicle by which we adopt those?
These changes were all memorialized in the December 8th, 2016 draft that is before you and was included in the Council file, and as well there is an underlined strikeout version memorializing those changes.
So they're in there.
They're all before you. There were no additional changes suggested today by Council District 5 beyond that draft.
Okay, so that draft is what's before us today for approval or not, correct?
Correct.
Okay. All righty. Any other questions or comments? No? Okay, well, we'll move to approve the preservation plan and include the amendments outlined in the letter from Council District 5. That's for item number 3. For item number 4, we will move to approve the Karthe Square Historic Preservation Overlay Zone. Okay. Any objections? Seeing none, so ordered. I must say, let me add, I believe there's one more step. This needs to go to full council again.
Full council tomorrow morning.
Tomorrow morning, and congratulations. I've attempted to provide some HPOZs in my district as well, and they do take time, but it's a great job for those who believe in this. Thank you very much. Congratulations. Next item, we will move to item number 6, please.
Item 6, Councilman, this is a city attorney prepare ordinance relative to the development agreement between the city and PHR LA Mar LLC for the Reef project in CD9.
All right, on item number 6, if we could have planning staff please come up to the table and briefly present this item. Welcome.
Hi, good afternoon, or early evening, I should say. Lucy Ibarra with the Department of City Planning for Major Projects. Before you is the report back from the City Attorney's Office relative to the development agreement for the Reef Project for a proposed term of 20 years in exchange for the provision of public benefits. This is associated with the entitlements that were previously approved by Council. At this time, that's the only update we have for you.
Okay, thank you. Just correcting the time here. Okay, thank you very much. We will now go to the applicant rep, and he's eagerly jumping out of his seat there. Edgar, you know, I pronounce your name two different ways every time you come here. What's the correct way of pronouncing it?
Kalatian.
Kalatian, okay.
You can call me anything you'd like.
Okay, Edgar Kalatian, there you go. Welcome, 5 minutes.
Edgar Kalatian with Mayor Brown here on behalf of the applicant PHR LA Mart. On November 22nd, 2016, the City Council approved the Reef Project, a catalytic project that will generate thousands of new local jobs and provide much-needed housing near transit. The item before you today is approving a development agreement that requires the property owner to provide community-based organizations $18 million of direct community benefits, including $15 million towards affordable housing. In addition, 5% of the apartments will be set aside for very low-income households, which the city's housing department has valued at $5.5 million. Therefore, the total value of the community benefits package is in excess of $24 million. When we started this process, the councilman was very clear with us. He demanded that we meet with community-based organizations to develop a transparent community benefits package that provides much-needed benefits, real benefits that will change lives to the community. By working closely with the council office and community leaders, we identified 4 categories of community benefits, which include jobs and economic development, youth activities and recreation, health and public safety, and affordable housing. With regard to jobs and economic development, the project will generate nearly 2,800 construction jobs and 750 permanent jobs. We are proud to have entered into a project labor agreement with the construction trades and an agreement with Unite Here to ensure good-paying union jobs. In fact, both agreements require that 30% of the jobs be filled with members of the local community, people who live or go to school in CD9. We will be required to provide the city quarterly report regarding our compliance with the local hiring goals. One of the initial concerns we heard from the community after entering into the union agreements was that the local community does not have the required training to work on projects like this. Therefore, we committed substantial funds to local groups such as the Concerned Citizens of South Central and CRCD to provide job training. Formal classes will commence on January 20, 2017. Yes, we will start funding and classes will begin before a shovel hits the ground. We have already started funding a job training program in the community so that there are skilled local employees ready to go when we start construction. And if we are not ready to start construction when the individuals whose training we are funding are ready to start work, there are a number of other local projects that they can work on. That is what is so amazing about this plan. We are not just handing out money. We are using our resources to educate and train local residents. What better way to help a community, an entire generation, than providing them the necessary tools and education to obtain a job in a high-paying field? The development agreement also requires us to establish a microloan program to assist local entrepreneurs to open businesses in CD9. With regard to youth activities, I hope that everyone in this room can agree that the youth are our future, and providing kids educational opportunities, including after-school programs and activities for high-risk youth, is of utmost importance. To that end, we have also committed substantial funds toward youth activities and recreation. These funds will go to local community groups, including the South Central Sports League and the Avalon Carver Community Center, which provides free meals, tutoring, and other services to the local community. Frankly, if as part of this project, we can positively change the lives of a few young men and women, we will have done good. With regard to health and public safety, we will also fund activities related to public health and safety programs, including a significant contribution to LAURA, an amazing organization that empowers youth victim survivors and their families through community collaboration. Finally, with regard to affordable housing, we will contribute $15 million towards local affordable housing programs. In addition, as I noted earlier, 5% of the apartments will be set aside for very low-income households. This is a project that we have worked very closely with the community on. As I said, when we first met with the councilman, he was very clear to us. You have to go work the community. You have to go meet with the community, meet with the community members. And any agreement, we're going to make sure it's enforceable. The agreement's going to be with the city, through the city, and we're going to hold you to everything you say you're going to do. And we are proud, after 3.5 years of working with the councilman and the city family, to be where we are today. Thank you very much, and we appreciate your support.
Okay, we'll go to public comment now, unless Mr. Price, this is do you want to open up, or do you want to go through public comment first? Public comment? Okay. Sarah Juarez, Enrique Juarez, William Flores. And each public speaker has 1 minute.
Is there any translator?
Oh, is there a translator here?
I can translate.
You can translate?
Yep.
Okay, Mr. Mejia from our Chief Legislative Analyst will translate. So you have 1 minute to speak, and then the translator will have a minute. Well, he'll translate afterwards. Thank you. Welcome.
Yes, thank you. I only want to say my name. My name is Sarah Juarez, and I live in Los Angeles downtown for 31 years. Me siento muy contenta porque este proyecto se está convirtiendo en una realidad.
I feel very happy because this project is becoming a reality.
A pesar de que ha habido oposición al cambio y a la inclusión de diversidad.
Even though there has been opposition to the change and to diversity.
Un beneficio que va tan grande que este proyecto va a traer
One of the benefits that this project will bring
es que esta comunidad del sur centro de Los Ángeles dejará de ser catalogada como pobre.
it's that this community in South Central will no longer be categorized as poor.
Y como un vecindario que está lleno de basura.
And as a community that is full of trash.
Y ahora va a ser conocido como un vecindario que está creciendo y estando cambiando y trayendo beneficios a la comunidad.
And it will be known as a community that is changing and bringing changes to the community.
Trabajos para los jóvenes,
Jobs for youth,
cambios demográficos.
Demographic changes.
Y este vecindario será muy feliz de saber que sus hijos están siendo tomados en cuenta.
And the community will be happy to be known as one where the children are taken as important citizens.
Y por eso apoyo al RIF, porque esto va a traer un gran beneficio y va a traer...
¿Puede acabar, por favor, su...
Sí, y va a traer grandes oportunidades para los jóvenes en general.
And that is why I support the project, because of the benefits and for the many benefits to the youth in the community.
Gracias.
Gracias. Enrique Juárez.
Hola, buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Enrique Juárez.
Hello, my name is
Y un
Enrique
saludo
Juárez.
para los miembros del concilio. Yo vengo en representación
I come in representing
de las personas de la tercera edad.
of citizens, older citizens,
Más que nada con un sentimiento de gratitud
with gratitude
porque proyectos como los que se piensa llevar a cabo
because of projects
de
such as this,
desarrollo, empleo y vivienda
with
alcance
development, job opportunities and housing
a personas de la tercera edad.
to senior citizens.
Somos personas de la tercera edad que todavía estamos en la disposición de ser productivos,
We are senior citizens, but still in a position to be
de
productive.
no estirar la mano, sino aportar de nuestra experiencia y nuestros talentos.
Instead of a handout, we can provide our talent.
De esa manera evitamos ese sentimiento de inutilidad al sentirnos útiles.
And we feel that we're valuable and can share that.
Dejamos de ser una carga para la familia
We're no longer a burden to the family
y para el Estado.
and to the state.
Al ser productivos y
To be
estar
pro-
activos,
To be productive and active,
conservamos nuestra salud, nuestra mente y nuestros sentimientos.
and our health and our feelings are something that
Estoy agradecido porque espero RIP participe en ese desarrollo de las personas de la tercera edad.
and we hope that the Reef project is one that helps
Estoy
senior citizens.
agradecido al concejal, a todos ustedes, que Dios les bendiga y salgamos adelante.
And we thank Councilman Price, all of you here, and may God allow us to move forward.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Gracias. William Flores, Maria Patiño, and Gabriela Garcia.
Hi, my name is William Flores, and I oppose the REEF project as it is being proposed. I want to request $40 million in additional to go to the affordable housing, or like to match the 30% of low-income housing according to JJJ. 50 annual revenue from the billboards, 50% of whatever they get, and a transparent and accountable process. Now, it was mentioned that Current Price had demanded that these developers talk to the community. I come as a member of the community today, not representing anybody else but myself. And believe you me, the people that you chose to speak to them were people that you selected. And that's not fair, because you know that there was so much more that the community could have benefited from if everybody would have been at the table.
Hi, my name is Maria Patiño, and I'm with SAGE. I'm a job developer in the community, and I also work with tenants. We actually have our tenant clinic running right now, and especially right now during the holidays, towards the end of the year, we're seeing our tenant clinics filled with people from the community who are facing evictions, who are facing rent increases, and that's the biggest fear that we have, that we understand that this is going to be a displacement to the community. So we're asking for more community benefits, for more affordable housing, for a higher percentage. Right now they're promising a certain percentage, but it's really only 1% from what we were able to calculate, and we can provide that data later on as well. So we're seeing that people, yes, are excited for the housing, but they're not understanding, or they're not realizing, sadly, that they're not going to be able to live there. So we're not here to create a division with the community members that are here for it. We are all a part of the community, but we also just want to say that, unfortunately, we don't want to see them be displaced. Thank you.
Thank you. Gabriela Garcia, Donna Liston Quintanilla, Cynthia Strathben, Greg Bennett.
Good afternoon, Plum Committee members. Just as a disclaimer, I want to just point out that for accessibility and language accessibility, I think there should always be a translator provided for every meeting, especially if REEF folks were going to bring Spanish-speaking tenants or residents. They should have been prepared with translation. I mean, out of nowhere, there's a translator all of a sudden in the room, so I think that's very disrespectful for the people in the room. Lo que yo estoy diciendo que es falta de respeto de que no haya traducción en español, ¿verdad? Estos temas nos están dañando mucho en nuestra comunidad y todos debemos de saber lo que está, poder escuchar lo que están diciendo todos en este cuarto, y creo que es una falta de respeto a nuestra comunidad de parte de los desarrollistas del REEF, de no asegurar de coordinar esa
traducción para todos en este cuarto. Y utilicé mi minuto para eso, pero creo que ese era un public service announcement y creo que merezco otro minuto.
Thank you very much. Your time is up. I have to be fair with everybody, otherwise everyone would speak
I
something
just
like that.
wanted to point that out because I
Yes,
thought it
well,
was very
thank you.
critical.
Your time
but
is
I-
up, though. I'm sorry. Everybody's allotted a minute to speak. Thank you very much. Thank you. Yeah, that's what you chose to speak on, and if that tactic were to be used by other people from the public, then they would use that and speak on a number of other items. So I apologize, but that's the rules. We stay consistent. Thank you very much. And I do have a question for our city clerk. If people have questions about translation services, is there a way for people to request those prior to the meeting?
Yes, it's on the agenda that they can notify me 72 hours in advance, and I will arrange for translation.
Yeah, so that it's on the agenda. If people need translation services, they could call in 72 hours in advance and have someone here for translation services. Okay, thank you very much. Yes, I know, I agree with what you're saying, but I'm sorry, we have rules about public speaking, and your time is up. Your time is up. Thank you. Donna Quintanilla, Cynthia Strothman.
Hi, I'm Donna Quintanilla. I'm here, I oppose the REEF project. The 5% that you guys are saying you're going to have on the development agreements is false. There is only 1.9% affordable housing, which does not align with Prop JJJ. And I feel like a lot of these developers don't know what it's like to be a part of a low-income community, because obviously none of you guys live here. So with that, I don't think this project is for the community. I'm not against the project. If the project did include affordable housing, it would be an amazing, beautiful project, but it doesn't. It has none of the community's consent in it, and I feel like a lot of these people are for these houses and stuff like that, but they don't know that they can't afford it because a single's going to go to up $1,000, and no one can afford that, not when families are like bundling up together in one apartment, in one single-room apartment. It is a struggle out here, and I don't think any of you guys understand that. And with that, I can't be for this project in general, and I hope you guys reconsider that and reconsider affordable housing.
Hello, my name is Cynthia Strathman. I'm with SAGE, and we're opposing the development agreement because we feel the level of benefits is too low. I was talking to a friend of mine who doesn't do this kind of work, and he was asking me, like, why would any resident ever support this? And I said, well, you know, they want the amenities and the things that will come with it. And he just laughed, and he said, don't they realize that one of the amenities people at the Reef are going to want is to not live near people like them? And I was like, I don't think that's totally sunk in yet. So yeah, displacement will happen. This will catalyze massive displacement. Seen it in Brooklyn, London, San Francisco. This city will be no different. The package is just too small to mitigate against those effects. The absolute amount of the package isn't relevant. What's relevant is the proportion. Only 1.9% of these housing units are going to be affordable. That's lower than what would have been required under Measure JJJ, the mayor's proposed linkage fee, or even what's required in the Grand Metropolitan, a development across the street in Councilmember Huizar's district. We need development. We need density. We need development in South LA, but we need it to be for the people who already live there.
Greg Bennett, Susana Coracero, Celesio Urbano, Lamar Banks.
Hi there, I'm Greg Bonet with Public Counsel. I had two questions for today. The first was, why did the city choose to dispense with its own regulations regarding development agreements and provide only 10-day notice of this hearing rather than the standard 24-day notice? Reducing the notice this way completely undermines community engagement, which is something that's happened time and time again with this process, with this project. Secondly, why has a CEQA notice of determination already been filed on this project? This is a document that needs to be filed after the project is approved, yet it's already been filed, and here today we're talking about whether or not to approve the development agreement. This project is going to have significant impacts in South LA. As you've heard, the community benefits are too little and they come too late. We urge you to address these procedural concerns and hear from the concerns from the Unidad Coalition prior to approving the development agreement. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Susana Coracero. I'm a native of South Central LA. I'm here representing City Tech, which is also part of Unidad. City Tech is a social justice working organization. We work hand in hand with residents to equip our residents to improve their neighborhood and its economic growth. But we do it in a strategic manner, long-term visioning, long-term planning. This is something that the Reef could be an opportunity to transform South LA with a positive impact for the current residents. However, as proposed, we cannot stand in support of this project at this time. It's proposing one-time money, though it's going to be generating millions and millions of dollars. It is going to be phasing in the benefits over 20 years. So who knows when if any of the residents here or are in the community will ever be able to see that money. All that money should be loaded up front. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
My name is Celso Urbano, and I've been a resident to South Central LA for 21 years of my life. So I was raised here and born here. So pretty much, I came today to pretty much oppose the project because this project is a $1.2 billion project. I'm gonna say that one more time. This project is a $1.2 billion project, and y'all giving $15 million. $15 million is the budget for the community. So that's what the community is worth to you, Mr. Curran Price. $15 million when the project is $1.2 billion project. I think you should add $40 million more to our budget, especially under the circumstance that we are right now. I take the bus downtown every morning, and what I see, LAPD waking up the homeless people with water, kicking them out of their tents, you know. And if you imagine this $1.2 billion project, how many people are going to be sleeping out of the fucking reef? A lot of people are going to be sleeping outside the fucking reef.
My name is Lamar Banks. I've been a native of South Central LA since, 92, 24 years old. And I just want to say I oppose the Reef Project because I don't see it bettering our community. I see talking about jobs and stuff, but at the end of the day, like, who is his jobs gonna be for people in the community? Like, is y'all gonna keep them there long term? Because people out here got jobs still struggling collecting cans and stuff to pay the rent. Now y'all about to move them out and stuff, so it's gonna be a harder struggle. I got people out here who really struggling, man, and with what's proposed right now is gonna make the struggle for me even more harder. So I oppose, and yeah, thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Ernesto Medrano. I represent 140,000 hardworking men and women.
One second. I am sorry. Did we haven't called your name up, have we?
I thought I heard I don't know if it was misspelled or Ernesto Medrano or.
No, I'm just trying to be fair here with everything that. No, we haven't. I'm sorry. Oh, yes, we have. It was Ornino Pinaldo here. Oh. And then it was you, but why don't you go ahead and then we'll get Ornino.
Thank you. As I said, Ernesto Medrano, representing 140,000 hard-working men and women from the LA Orange County Building and Construction Trades Council, and a few other trades are here with me. And we're here to urge you to approve the development agreement that provides a lot of good benefits here. We have in this project labor agreement with the trades with 30% local hire. That is approximately under 3,000 new construction jobs, high wage, high skill, good paying, benefits, pension type of jobs. And so we're extremely proud to partner with the various elements, not just with the developer, but with the community. We see opportunities for training, for pre-apprenticeship programs. with the local community college, with local community partners. We see opportunities here to basically not just create or enable jobs for young men and women around the community, but develop careers for these young men and women, with not just in this project, but other projects within the district. So I want to echo that important element that exists here. We're going to have a good opportunity to make LA and be a better place to live and a better place to work. Thank you.
Thank you. Orino Opinaldo, Jackie DuPont Walker, Rachel Torres, Omar Perich.
Blessings. I, Orino Opinaldo, am a displaced grandfather from a community of 76 years. Gentrification in LA County has 254,000 people experience homelessness a year, especially in South Central and metro areas. We, Unidad, asked to give $40 million more for affordable housing. The Reef has no housing for low-income plan on the Reef. Many families around the Reef earn less than $30,000, which may displace them like the $254,000 yearly. Again, give $40 million for the low-income affordable housing for those who support the Reef and live near it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Rachel Torres. I'm a senior research analyst with Unite Here Local 11. On behalf of the 20,000 members of Unite Here, we wish to thank Councilmember Price, this committee, the developer, and all community stakeholders in bringing forth this project. We'd like to invite the supporters to stand at this point. This project will include the project labor agreement for the construction of this project, good jobs for the permanent employees of this hotel, job training with the Hospitality and Training Academy, and local hiring for the district. And we finally look forward to this process moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Omar Perich.
Good afternoon, City Council members. It's an honor to be here with you. I have the privilege of pastoring a church called Victory Outreach here in the city of Los Angeles. During the last 6 weeks, I've had the opportunity to share Thanksgiving dinner with over 300 families, and now we're getting ready to deliver hundreds of toys to families in need. And spending time with these families, there's two common conversations that keep coming up. Number one, Pastor, LA's ready for change, and number two, LA needs opportunity. Coco from the Pueblos, Hackla Housing, said it best. We don't need more handouts, we need hand-ups. And I think now everybody now wants a handout. And what I believe, it's time to start equipping LA to live better, think better, and to come up to a higher level. And I believe firmly that the Reef will provide that opportunity. I think that it's the reason LA's ready is because the individuals have taken ownership of the mentality that all things are possible to those that believe. To not approve it is to say you're not good enough, you gotta stay broke, you gotta stay in poverty, and you gotta stay down. I support the Reef, my family supports the Reef, my church supports the Reef.
Thank you.
The time is now.
Carla Vilches, Cynthia Bryant, Skip Townsend, Adela Barajas. Welcome.
Greetings, everyone. My name is Cynthia Bryant, and I am excited. And I just want to thank the Reef, thank Current Price, and all the effort that they put into this project, and reaching out to the community and letting them be a part of the project. Not only just the ones that's in the community benefits agreement, but it's going to reach thousands, if not the whole district of Community 9. And I'm just excited, and again, thank you, Reef, because this is something that we've been needing in the 9th District for a long time. Thank you.
Hello, council members. Thank you for the opportunity to speak in front of you. My name is Mark Wilson. I am the executive director with the Coalition for Responsible Community Development based in South Los Angeles. I just want to recognize those that support.
One second, sir. What was your name again?
Mark Wilson. I thought you called me councilman. I'm sorry.
No, I didn't.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I apologize.
He
calls Skip Townsend. You're trying to.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm
sorry,
Skip.
Councilman Dawson. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm just trying to be fair here, and I get the cards as they give them to me.
Sorry.
And
I
just
thought you
read
called
them
me.
off
I'm
there.
sorry, but I was.
Okay, thank you. So Skip Townsend not here? All right, Carla Vilches not here? Adela Barajas not here? Marlo Reyes or Mardo Reyes not here? Sergio Juarez, I think, spoke already, right? Filled out 2 cards. No, that was Enrique. No, that was Enrique. This is Sergio. Sergio Juarez, Fidelia Muralles, Ricardo Rodriguez, Maria Espinosa, go ahead.
My name is Sergio Juarez. Dear member councils, I believe you know me, I've been here many times. I've been living in this community since 1985. I'm a pastor of a church in this area since 2005. We come only 6 persons because we were supposed to come more, but many of them are afraid of coming because of some organizations, some paid organizations that have been threatening them, they've been cursing them, and I've been suffering those things in my own body, in my own belongings. I've been insulted, I've been attacked, my property, personal property in my church is been vandalized. That created, believe it or not, emotional suffering in some of my members. Why I say that? Well, because I went to Mexico City a week ago, and I'm so surprised of the changes I saw over there, especially in crime. Why? Because many companies have been investing, creating progress, and progress bring less crime. Amen. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Mardo Reyes.
Okay.
I'm here on support of the reef. I'm very happy to say that I've been living in the community for over 40 years, and I'm happy to see that change is coming, and very positive change. I've been a member of my church, Betania, all my life, and we've been trying to work with the community, and we see the reef has done a lot of great support, to make positive change for our community. We're just happy for this change. We're happy for the employment that's coming to the community. Councilman Price, thank you. God bless you. Thank you. I've seen the change that's happening since you've been there. Thank you. God bless you. Thank you, Reef.
Welcome.
Buenas tardes.
¿Cómo se llama?
María Espinosa.
Okay.
Soy miembro del Sur Central.
Le va a traducir este joven acá y si le puede esperar poquito mientras dice unas poquito y luego lo traduzca él.
¿Cómo dijo, señora?
Mi nombre es María Espinosa.
My name is Maria Espinosa.
Soy miembro del Sur Central
I'm a member of South Central,
y apoyo al REEF
and I support the reef
por todos los beneficios que va a traer a nuestra comunidad.
for all the benefits that it will bring to the community.
Trabajo para gente de la tercera edad,
I work with elderly citizens,
jóvenes
youth,
y para personas que han estado en prisión que tengan una segunda oportunidad.
and the project will bring benefits to youth who have been incarcerated.
Eso sí es pensar en nuestra comunidad, en nuestra gente y también donde podamos ir con nuestras familias.
This is thinking about our community and our people and where we can go in the community.
No hay que enfocarnos solo en vivienda,
Let's not just focus on housing.
hay que enfocarnos en todo lo que trae el proyecto.
Let's focus on everything that the project will bring.
Y yo apoyo al proyecto REEF.
And I support the reef project.
Thank you.
Thank you. Gracias.
Buenos días. Mi nombre es Ricardo Rodríguez.
My name is Ricardo.
Soy el presidente de Cuna de Campeones de South Centro, de la Central de la 21.
I am a community resident of South Central.
Y nosotros apoyamos a programa de RIF por la economía que está invirtiendo en nuestra zona de South Centro.
And we support the reef because of the economic development that it will bring to the community.
Porque sin economía, una ciudad nunca va a crecer.
Without economic development, the city will never grow.
Entonces, pues nosotros apoyamos a The Reef para que sigan apoyando a la juventud.
We support the reef so that the youth will be
De la
supported.
juventud nueva que viene de South Centro. Por eso nosotros de Cuna de Campeones tratamos de apoyar a
And
The
that-
Reef
that's
para la
why his-
mejor economía del lugar.
That's why his organization, Jóvenes Campeones, the youth group, supports the project for the economic development benefits.
Y por eso le damos gracias a The Reef por su apoyo.
And that is why we
de-
thank the reef for its support
de la economía para South Centro.
for the economic development that it will bring South Central.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Gracias.
Pedro Santos.
My name is Pedro Santos. Sí,
se
señor,
llama?
continúe.
Pedro Santos.
Todavía no la llamamos.
Ok.
Un momento, estamos... no tengo su carta aquí. ¿Usted firmó una carta? ¿Usted escribió una carta? Ok, ahorita la... Fidelia Muralles, right here. Mark Wilson. Mark Wilson. Noreen McCrendon. Hamiko Elder.
Again, my apologies for earlier. And thank you guys thank you council members for allowing me to speak. Real quickly, again, Mark Wilson, Executive Director with the Coalition for Responsible Community Development. I want to speak today with respect to jobs. As a employment development agency that provides more than 2,000 placement opportunities to residents in Councilman Price's district, we support the reef because we feel that this project will increase opportunities for residents of Council District 9 to seek and gain employment that's needed. As many of you know, CD9 represents one of the highest concentrations of unemployment throughout the city of Los Angeles. Thanks to Councilman Price and his support, he's been able to bring employment training and placement opportunity centers in the area. And this is another project that we strongly support because it will bring jobs to the area, which is much needed.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Noreen McClendon, Executive Director with Concerned Citizens of South Central Los Angeles. The REEF project is doing something that is unheard of. It is funding ahead of time employment training for local hire positions. More often than not, contractors say that they can't find anybody to take those positions because there's nobody in the community qualified. They have put their money where their mouth is. They are providing an opportunity for us to prepare people so that when the jobs actually happen, that those people will be ready to take those jobs. That is unheard of. We are strongly in support of this project, and we'd like to thank Councilman Price for his leadership on this project. Thank you.
Thank you.
Greetings. My name is Jamiko Elder. I am the Executive Director at Appellant Carver Community Center, and I am a native of South Los Angeles for my entire life. We support this project, and we support our councilman in District 9 for what is going on in District 9, the revitalization of District 9, trying to bring jobs to the residents. We understand that we have a housing crisis, but there is no way that anyone can afford any place to live without a job, without training, without careers. So we support this project because it will provide trainings. It will provide jobs that people, instead of just giving you a fish, people will be able to develop a way to feed themselves through the careers that this will create. This opportunity will provide people right now who do not have jobs at all, who cannot afford the homes that they are currently living in. So right now we are supporting it because it will provide the people with jobs and training and careers. Thank you.
Thank you. Sí, señor, usted ya tiene su carta aquí. Gracias.
Mi nombre es Pedro Antonio Santos.
My name is Pedro Antonio Santos.
Soy un líder de Sur Central,
I am a community leader
Sur Central.
in South Central.
Quiero darle las gracias a Eric Garcetti, al concejal Price,
I want to
como
thank Mayor Garcetti and
como
Councilman
al
Price
concilio
and
de
the
la
council
ciudad que está ahorita haciendo los cambios para mejorar a la nueva juventud.
for making the changes that they are making to help the youth.
Ya que nos vienen tiempos bonitos para la nueva juventud, vamos a tener jóvenes que van a estar en la universidad,
We're bringing good opportunities to youth
Ya que-
going to college.
hemos estado todos los líderes de ayer luchando para que hagan estos cambios.
We have been-
Muchísimas gracias.
We have been fighting for many years for these changes. Thank you very much.
No me queda más darle las gracias al concejal Price,
Want to
al
thank
señor
Councilman
Urizar, señor Gil Cerillo, y necesitamos el apoyo para en enero, que ya también viene la persecución de los latinos aquí en California. Que nos apoyen, por favor. Gracias.
We want to thank Councilman Price, Councilman Cedillo, Councilman Huizar, and we're ready for what's coming in January for the persecution with the new administration.
Thank you. That was our final speaker on public comment. Mr. Price?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to thank the public for their attendance, stick-to-itiveness, and staying. But I want to thank those for your comments, either for or against. I appreciate your level of interest and involvement. Over the course of the past 2.5 years, there's been a lot of discussion about this project, and for good reason, for very good reason. It represents an unprecedented investment in our community without any public money or any public subsidy. We haven't seen that kind of confidence in South LA in decades, even when the CRA was actively promoting community development. I grew up in the 9th District, and so I know that for too long the community has been neglected and disregarded, not just in terms of meaningful development opportunities, but also in terms of getting our fair share of city resources. But for the past 3 years, I fought tirelessly to change the story in South LA for the better. That's why I'm demanding more from our developers and partnering up with those that want to ensure that all ships rise with the tide when investing in our neighborhoods. Developments like the Reef offer an opportunity to provide job training that will launch careers for well-paying middle-class jobs for our local workforce, that can improve recreational spaces so our kids have a safe place to learn and play, and to provide financial support for our local businesses and vendors. And I want to emphasize a very important fact about this project, so there's no confusion. The project does not displace one single home. In fact, we're talking about transforming 1,100 parking spaces into a transformative project that's going to provide housing, jobs, and community amenities to the surrounding community. Now for the development agreement. Members, last month we unanimously approved the entitlements for the Reef project. Now it's time to consider the substantial community benefits package that this project is offering. What you see before you today is a community benefits package valued at $23.5 million. This is not only unprecedented in South LA, but for the entire city. As I mentioned before, the package is not slapped together overnight, and despite what some critics say, the package reflects a meaningful community engagement process over these past 2.5 years, and it takes suggestions and proposals from a cross-section of community groups to address a number of needs in the district. So the benefits include $15 million for affordable housing. It's going to aid in the construction of new units. It's going to preserve expiring affordable housing covenants and the acquisition of preservation of naturally occurring affordable housing throughout the 9th District. These dollars are going to can also help fund more than 500 units of housing that are already in the pipeline in the 9th District. That's more than any other place in the city. 5% affordable housing for very low-income families is a part of this package. And more than $3 million in community benefits that are going to provide job training, youth, and community programming, and a micro-enterprise loan fund. that will begin before. I can't stress enough the importance of the Reef's commitments and our partners with the building trades and Unite Here and their commitment for a 30% local hire. For many years, many would say that local hire couldn't be achieved, that it's impossible to find qualified people to fill the jobs. But where there's a will, there is a way. At the USC Village Project, for example, the local hire program has been uplifting and benefiting the entire community. In fact, they've exceeded their 30% goal of local hires, with several subcontractors exceeding 50% of local hire. With transformational projects like the soccer stadium, the convention center renovation, and the Reef right around the corner, there's going to be an opportunity to create a meaningful pipeline of jobs in our community. Make no mistake, I'm going to hold the Reef's feet to the fire as the construction process begins, and as they're going to be liable for making quarterly reports on their hiring goals. They've also agreed to retain a community ombudsman to disseminate information to the local community, to businesses, and others. In other words, there's going to be full transparency, full accountability. Members, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to change the story of South LA. An opportunity where all communities prosper and all communities can win. Let me repeat, this $23.5 million benefits package is unprecedented. And it's not going to only set a tone for future developments in South LA, but the rest of the city. Members, I thank you for your time and respectfully ask that you support this community agreement, this development agreement, and community benefits package for our South LA community. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Price, do you have a motion to make?
I move that we approve the package as presented.
Okay, thank you. So it's been motion, second by Mr. Englander. Any objections? See none, so ordered. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And now we'll move on to item number 10. Okay, if you could read that into the record, please.
So just to be clear, on 6, you approved the development agreement, city attorney prepare ordinance.
Yes, we did.
So on 10, Councilman, this is a CEQA appeal filed by Mark Kenyon from the Mount Washington Homeowners Alliance. It relates to the approval of, well, what's before you is the environmental clearance, but the underlying project is 9 single-family dwellings in CD1.
Okay, thank you. So can you, staff, present this item briefly, please?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. It's my understanding that the appellant may be willing to withdraw this case, and I would like to, before I present my report...
I'm sorry, say that again?
The appellant may be withdrawing this case, so Mark Kenyon.
Okay.
I don't know if the committee would hear from Mark Kenyon first.
Okay, all right. We could do that. Let's hear from the appellant.
And then I will do my presentation.
Mark Kenyon, yes, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and honorable members. My name is Mark Kenyon. I'm here on behalf of the Mount Washington Homeowners Alliance. We're the appellant in this case. And as Mr. Shoup said, we would like to withdraw the appeal at this point. We would like to thank the owners of this property and their team and Councilmember Cedillo's office in working with the Homeowners Alliance and the local community in the West Point area. We've been able to resolve most of our matters, and so we don't feel that this appeal at this point is worth moving forward on. The only thing that we would like to have happen in addition to where the matter stands now is that there were 3 letters that Councilmember Cedillo wrote to city staff, and we would like to have those letters entered into the record so that we can keep track of that on the city council file. I don't see Mr. Cedillo here, so since that's, if he's not here, then I have those letters and I'll give them to the city clerk.
Yeah, we have Mr. Gubatan from his office that will testify at this time. And
okay, great.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you, Gerald Gubatan, Councilman Cedillo's office. We support the appellant's withdrawal of the appeal. We'd like to thank the applicants and the appellants. All parties have come together in agreement on various issues. The developers agreed to provide additional concrete sidewalk. The developers agreed to utilize certain properties for staging during construction. Developers also voluntarily agreed. There's an understanding to provide any support or compensation for damage, and that's a separate understanding. Finally, our office has been coordinating with various city departments on concerns around certain intersections, and we've submitted to the file formal letters from our office to those departments. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, as the fact that this has been withdrawn, what's the proper procedure for us to rule on this? Just to deny the appeal? Is that what?
Agent Horzani, City Attorney's Office. Yes, because it was just withdrawn, you should still take an action on it, and since no argument in support of the appeal is being presented.
Okay, so we'll move to deny the appeal, and any objections to that? No objections, so ordered. Thank you. On item number 10.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And thank you for telling us it's been withdrawn before you made your half-hour presentation on this item.
Council member, only a page and a half.
Okay, thank you. Item number 8.
Item 8, Councilman, this is an appeal by Bruce Cooper. This is an appeal relative to queue conditions that are being clarified, and the project is in CD5.
Okay. Can staff briefly present this item, please?
Yes, good evening. My name is Lakeisha Hall, and I'm with the City Planning Department. I will be presenting the project this evening. The proposed project is located at 862-870 Moraga Drive in Bel Air, Beverly Crest Community Plan Area. The property is zoned QR31BL and is located near the intersection of Sepulveda Boulevard and Moraga Drive. Surrounding properties with similar zoning have buildings 2 to 3 stories in height, with single-family dwellings located across alleyways. For your convenience, pictures of the existing conditions of the site and the surrounding area are provided for you today as hard copies. The proposed project includes the demolition of an existing 2-story multifamily building and the construction of a 3-story multifamily building with 16 parking spaces and a partial subterranean level. The new residential building that will be constructed will use the density bonus ordinance to include 11 market rate units and 1 very low income unit. The applicant has requested a clarification of queue condition number 1 in ordinance number 165958, which has a building height limitation of 32 feet for the surrounding area. The queue clarification process allows for modifications from queue condition limitations pursuant to the City Planning Commission guidelines and to the process provided in section 12.32 of the code. In this case, the request is from guideline A, which states that a clarification may be granted for an increase in height of an additional 5 feet. The applicant requested 37 feet in building height instead of the limitation of 32 feet. The intent of the City Council in approving the queue conditions for the surrounding area was to limit density and height for new development, primarily due to traffic circulation and parking issues. The increased building height would carry out the intent of City Council because it would address circulation issues by allowing the applicant to put an additional parking space in the building area while also providing a space for an affordable housing unit. The project will meet all other zoning code requirements for multifamily developments. In closing, on June 27, 2016, the Director of Planning issued a determination letter approving the requested queue clarification for the 5 feet increase for the proposed project. The decision was appealed based on 6 points. For the record, Planning submitted a formal, detailed response last Friday to the Council file for this case. In summary, the request met the City Planning Commission guidelines for height increase and is similar to 2 other nearby projects that have received queue clarification height increases in the area. The additional 5 feet in height is a minor increase and will not result in a substantial deprivation of property rights of other property owners as shown in the pictures that you have. And lastly, the request ensures that the current building code and municipal code requirements for vehicle circulation and dwelling units are adequately met. Planning staff recommends the denial of the appeal. This completes my presentation. We're available for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now go to public comment.
What about the appellant, Councilman?
I'm sorry, the appellant, and go to Bruce Kuiper and Andrea Moore.
We're going to share we will share our time, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. 5 minutes, please.
My name is Bruce Kuiper. My co-appellant's Dave Daigle, who's the adjacent single-family residence owners here, as well as Andrea Moore, who's an abutting property owner. I've lived in the area for 17 years. What is at issue here is not just 5 feet. This is allowing her to build a 4th story with a roof deck. So it's not just 5 feet. The code is very specific that specific findings need to be made as recited by planning staff. One is that this is necessary to carry out the intent of the city council at the time it adopted the Q classification. That's 1990. So it's the intent then. The reference to two other clarifications, one that did not reach the city council and one that was a compromise when it reached city council and was only 3 feet in a commercial area, those are irrelevant. It's the intent of the city council, what the planning staff admits in its response, was to limit height, which this directly contradicts, density, traffic, parking. We don't get an extra parking space. Density is being increased, units per lot area, and additional RFA from the 4th floor is going to increase density and traffic and parking in the neighborhood. The other requirement is that there only be a minimal effect on adjacent property. That's Mr. Daigle who's speaking next. And that there not be significant or substantial effects on other property owners. And this is an extra 4th story with a roof deck on top. It's not just 5 feet. So it will have a substantial effect on views, shadow, as well as privacy looking into the neighboring single-family homes. And my last point would be regarding the neighborhood council. The neighborhood council spent a lot of time here, 2 meetings, planning, land use committee, board meeting, letter sent to the file, 20 neighbors showed up, the applicant and her supporters showed up to both meetings. I have a rhetorical question to finish. What's the point of the hard work of the neighborhood council if it's completely ignored by the department and the city council? I turn it over to Mr. Daigle. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Bruce. Good afternoon, Council. My name is David Daigle, and I am the property owner, along with my wife, at 878 Moraga. We are arguably the most impacted neighbor of the proposed development. And this is not a question of NIMBYism, if you will. I understand the desire to update things. We just heard the REEF project. I understand the value proposition put forth. But in this particular case, it's not about NIMBY. It's about property rights, and in particular, my property rights. What we have here is a development that's asking for a variance. That variance does nothing to add units. At 32 feet, you still get the same number of units, 13. The extra 5 feet will negatively impact my property severely. I have reached out to real estate brokers in the Bel Air, Brentwood, Pacific Palisades area, familiar with this neighborhood, and I wanted to know what the impact on my home value would be with a development of this sort going across the street from the alley. I have a letter from one of the brokers I'd like to submit to the council for review that states there will be negative impact on the value of my property. That negative impact is a result of the oversized size of the property itself, going from 32 to 37 feet, the increased traffic through the alley, the viewing into my home, the increased noise and whatnot. So this is not a question of NIMBYism. It's a question of impact directly into the personal enjoyment of our home. Second, when it comes to the viewing, there was some notes made about there would be no impact. This was made in the planning department's letter reference dated December 8th. They were not in my yard to see it. I have photos, and I show linear angles so that the council can see what the current building looks like, what the impact at 32 feet will look like, and what the impact at 37 feet will look like relative to the shadowing effect of this new structure if it is built across the alley from my home. I would respectfully request that the planning department look at these drawings, look at the letter that the real estate broker has provided in concerns to my potential loss of property value and the loss of personal and privacy, or personal enjoyment and privacy into our home. In that package, I also have photos of what you will see once the structure is built. You can see bathrooms, bedrooms, backyards that don't exist today. So I respectfully ask you to consider that. Thank you. And I have the package here. Who do I give that to?
And for the record, name is Dave Daigle, right?
David Daigle, right?
David
I'm the
Daigle.
property owner next door.
Okay.
And I have the packet.
Yeah, the clerk can get that from you? Sure. And Andrea Moore, you have 1 minute. You Andrea?
I'm Andrea Moore. Okay, I'll
Okay, you have 1 minute.
be fast and sweet. I live next door to that home, which is a one-story. I have a two-story home, so I'm sort of two-story adjacent. Well, I had a couple issues. The most important thing is that this significantly and substantially affects my property rights by the extra 5 feet that they want with the rooftop. There will be more people at that building, and as it stands, I have very little parking for my own family who wants to come visit. And I'm on the 800 block, so I'll be very fast. There will be even less parking to be able to park right in front of my own house or close to my house because I have to compete with the apartments. But more significantly, this building will be looking down at my backyard. I've put significant improvements into my house, the exterior, the backyard, and now I've got to have to look at a big apartment building looking back down at my backyard, as well as 2 rooms at the side of my house. So the extra 5 feet is of no value it is absolutely not necessary, but actually will decrease the value and the privacy of my own home. And that's just a horrible feeling. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now we hear from the applicant, Pamela Day.
Hi, good evening, council members. My name is Leah Thompson. I am a land use attorney at Irvin Cohen & Jessup, and I represent the applicant and property owner, Pamela Day.
And my name is Carl Smith, AIA. I'm the architect for the project. Yeah, I guess architecturally, I'll just give you a real quick run-through of what our project is about and what it does. I mean, it's basically a 13-unit apartment. We have 1 on-site affordable using the city's density bonus. It's a 3-story building above a semi-subterranean parking garage with 16 parking spaces. And with all of these projects, we do our best to kind of look at the neighborhood. We spend some time on the site and try to develop a design and scheme for the building that we think sort of fits naturally and reasonably into the landscape there. And that's what we've done with this building. We think it's a pretty nice building. Will be a nice enhancement to the neighborhood. It incorporates lots of green features, and we think is a sensitive project for the neighborhood. And I'm available if you have any specific questions about the architecture.
Once again, Leah Thompson. So just to address a couple of issues that have been brought up. To be clear, the proposed project is located 5 feet lower than the closest appellant single-family home and 9 feet lower in topography than a second nearest single-family home. The natural slope of the topography of Morago Drive alone makes any claims of privacy or view impediment factually impossible. The project is located 36 feet away from the closest appellant. It's separated by an alley, and the project site is located 80 feet away from any of the other single-family homes. As far as loss of views, in the appeal, there was a comment that they would lose their ability to be able to look over and see Getty Museum from 878 Morago Drive. However, it's rather impossible to understand how this could occur since their view is directly west of Getty Museum and our property is located south of their property site. So I wanted to talk real quick about the work that we've done with the council office. Thank you to Faisal and Councilman Koretz for all the work that they've done. We've talked to the council office numerous times to try to figure out what voluntary conditions we could put on this project that may alleviate some of the concerns. First of all, to be clear, the Bel Air Alliance does support this project. We have been working with Councilman Koretz, and these are the voluntary conditions we've already agreed to. The applicant has already had the architect remove the top 2 balconies that will face the single-family home, the primary homeowner who was just speaking. Units 301 and 302 will have the balconies removed, and they've actually already been removed from the plans. Also, we have been asked by the council office if we will post no smoking signs on the rooftop to do our best to curb any kind of outside smoking, and we will absolutely do so. We'll post signs and have a policy whereby we wouldn't have smoking on the rooftop deck. And finally, in compliance with LA Building Safety Building Code, to the best of our ability, we will work to provide a landscape or visual barrier on the roof deck. We've talked to the council office. This is something they'd like to see. However, when I say in compliance with building and safety, I want to be clear. We don't want to go taller than the 37 feet we're already proposing. So given certain setbacks, building and safety might be amenable to allowing us to use planters or some other landscaping ability, and we will do that. I want to turn the last minute and 20 seconds to the applicant, property owner Pamela Day, who's here. Thank you, and I'm available for any questions.
Thank you.
Good evening. I just want to thank Faisal Al-Sari and Councilman Koretz's office, who's unbelievably helpful and has really helped us add features to the project that we think help address some of the concerns of the neighbors. He's been incredible. Thank you, thank you. Everything else is, I think, already stated by our architect. Thanks.
Thank you. We will now continue with public comment. Alan Compton. Each speaker has 1 minute. Denise Wong, Miriam Tassini, Patricia Nation.
Can you hear me okay? Alan Compton. I live for 40 years now on Moraga Drive. I'm very much in favor of development in Los Angeles and America and the world. However, the developments should occur without harming other people. This harms other people and is being done for no reason that I can tell except to prompt more money coming into the owner. Thank you.
Thank you. Denise Wong.
I'm Denise Wong, and I live on for 14 years on Moraga Drive, and I am a homeowner there. And I am opposed to the 5 foot above the 30-foot height limit. I think I'm not opposed to the project. Certain buildings are older and they can renovate them, but there's no reason for the 30-foot when she could have a subterranean parking underneath, not subterranean, but underground parking underneath, and still have the height requirements that should be put in place. Thank you.
Thank you. Miriam Tassini.
I'm Miriam Tassini. Thank you for inviting us. And I'm a physician, and my concern is mainly about the increased traffic. It's going to markedly increase. It's a very narrow street, and there is danger of traffic, and there will be no parking. There's going to be, as far as I understand, 13 apartments and only 16 parking spaces, which means that there are 2 people living in the apartment. There will be 2 cars up and down the street all the time, parked and traffic. As it is, it's very close to the exit to the 405 freeway, and there's always a lot of traffic, and that's just increased the traffic and the danger of pollution and health. And this is what I object to, that instead of putting the parking on the street, on the level of the street, that will increase the hazard. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Patricia Nation. And after Patricia,
here I am.
Marilyn Miller. Majgan, you next, Patricia. Majgan Manavi, David O'Neill. Go ahead.
Okay, my name is Patricia Nation. I've lived on Moraga Drive for 58 years, and everyone's bragging about their contacts in California. I'm a 4th-generation Californian. This building wouldn't need 5 extra feet if the owner put in subgrade parking on the 100 by 100 foot lot instead of parking at grade. She doesn't want to spend the money. The planning department ruling helps her financially but harms the neighborhood. All Moraga Drive apartments are only 2 stories tall. The Q classification was created in 1991 with this sliver of land between the 405 and the on-off ramps and Sepulveda Boulevard in mind to keep the neighborhood commercial with limited density and low building height. Section 12.32H of the municipal code allows a 5 foot increase in the extra height. Presents no impact on the surrounding area. Is it over?
It's over. Yes, thank you. Apologize. Thank you. Marilyn Miller. Majgan Manavi. David O'Neill.
I would first like to say the applicant did not address the intent of the City Council in adopting the Q. That intent was to reduce height. Traffic in the area is already very congested and getting worse on Moraga and Sepulveda. The area around Moraga, Sepulveda to the on-ramp on the 405 is a major point of traffic. It causes huge backups on Sepulveda during traffic hours. In addition, the intersection of Moraga and Bellagio has become a nightmare. Morning and evening rush hours, even when there's little real traffic, it takes 3 to 4 minutes to cross Sepulveda. On information and belief, the buildings at 844 and 828 Moraga were required to have underground parking. This building, if built, should have the same requirements. The alley and back of the even numbers on the 800 block of Moraga is not in good repair. This alley pours out onto Bellagio at a location that's recently become
Thank you.
dangerous. Am I done?
Yes, if you could just finish, you could finish your sentence or your thought on that.
Okay. Fast rolling stops are continually the norm and it proposes a hazard for the persons exiting the alley and for those trying to cross the street on foot to get to the local restaurants and gas stations.
Thank you. Majgan Manavi, not here? Yes? Right. David O'Neill. Sean Berry. Michael Mansour. Welcome.
Good evening. My name is David O'Neill, and I live in the vicinity of the project. Please know the appellant does not speak for the neighborhood. Many people like the project and support new development. The area needs housing, and the project suits the area well. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Sean Berry. Michael Mansour.
Hi, my name is Michael Mansour. I live in the district. My parents are in the area, and I'm actually excited about this project because we don't like to drive, and my parents are getting older and are looking for a property to stay in the neighborhood and to stay within a place that they can walk to shops, to the restaurants in the area, and still stay in the community and stay in the community with their friends. And I appreciate your listening.
Thank you. Joshua Wolfson, not here. Valerie Morris, there you are. Daniel Duyan, or Duggan.
Hello, good evening. My name is Valerie Morris, and I not only live in the district, but I'm involved in the Abundant Housing LA. We desperately need housing not only in this area, but citywide. The unnecessary appeals are simply a way for NIMBYs to keep affordable housing out of their backyards. This project isn't even using the incentives afforded to it under state and municipal law. All of this is because they conceded to the NIMBYs. Please move this project forward so that the city can build the quality housing it so desperately needs. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Daniel Dugan, and I fully support this project because it is adding the housing that we need. Bel Air, as you may know, has been woefully slow in any new housing whatsoever, and believe me, we do need it. I like this project because the configuration of the units really fits with the neighborhood. As you heard, they took a lot of time and effort to consider the landscape and how it would affect the neighborhood and how it would benefit the aesthetic. These are just two-story townhomes that are great for singles, families, and for empty nesters. So if it means that they just need 5 more feet in height to build this unit, then it's worth it. We are only talking about 5 feet, and they will do it respectfully, like she said, with planters to help with privacy concerns. So please give it to them, and please deny this appeal. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there someone here from Council District 5? There he is.
Council members, good afternoon. Faisal Asari here on behalf of Councilmember Koretz. We always seek to find compromise with appeals like these. We've met with the immediate neighbors, the appellants, members of the neighborhood council, as well as the Bel Air Association. It's important to clarify that we are talking about 5 feet here. The primary concerns of this appeal were based on potential loss of privacy, loss of views, and allowing residents' use of a rooftop terrace. We raised these issues to the applicant, who is willing to implement several voluntary conditions. In reviewing this, we feel that these conditions are being implemented in good faith. Those conditions are that no balconies be on the top 2 floors, facing the north alley portion, abutting the single-family house. Having seen many cases here, I would say that having no balconies on that portion of this project is perhaps better and actually less of an intrusion in terms of privacy than having a building that's 5 feet shorter with balconies facing that alleyway. Also, they are willing to implement some sort of a design element that would be allowed by the building code to possibly place either a solid surface or a design feature to prohibit any sort of resident use that would be any sort of intrusion to the single-family homes abutting that alley. Finally, in addressing, there were a few concerns from the Bel Air Association regarding smoking on top of the rooftop terrace. We asked, and the applicant is willing to have a no smoking terrace, and will also place signage on that. With these conditions, the Bel Air Alliance is now supportive of this project. We also spoke with members of the neighborhood council, although we didn't have enough time to go back to the neighborhood council, but the members that we did speak to are also now in support of this project. So we feel that this is a compromise. With that said, we do urge you to deny the appeal, support the project, and move the planning department's recommendation forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you. These added conditions, are they part of the application, or are they all voluntary conditions, or what you mentioned?
Councilmember again, Faisal Asari, these are voluntary conditions. So what would have to happen is that the applicant, in good faith, would go to the zoning administrator and ask for a letter for clarification and implement these conditions on there. These are not mitigating conditions. These are simply to address the issues that were raised by the immediate neighbors.
Okay, thank you. Okay. And any other questions or comments on this? It appears that the local council office has come up with some voluntary conditions that we hope will be implemented as he described, and we'll take that recommendation from Council District 5 and recommend that we deny the appeal. Any questions or comments on that? Any objections? Seeing none, so ordered. Okay, great. Thank you. What is next, Mr. Mejia?
Number 7, Councilman.
Number 7. If you could read that into the record, please.
Yes.
And this is our last item, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
It's a report from the city attorney. It's a draft ordinance to execute a development agreement between the city and 5901 Sunset Studios Holdings, LLC.
Welcome. And if we could have staff make a brief presentation on this, please.
Good evening. This is Lucy with the Department of City Planning Major Projects Section. The development agreement before you is a proposed 15 years related to the entitlements associated with the project at 5901 Sunset. The term of 15 years is recommended in exchange for the benefits that were proposed. The project approvals, I believe, were approved by council in August. So this is just the remaining item on the 5901 Sunset project.
Great, thank you. And I understand this was before Plum on August 9th, and at that time we had 2 additional requests from Council District 13, 2 amendments. One was the index dollar amount to the Consumer Price Index and to dedicate $20,000 for the Hollywood Heritage Incorporated to CD13's Public Benefits Trust Account. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Those have been incorporated here?
They have been
Yeah.
incorporated.
Okay, thank you. We will now hear from the applicant reps. We have three applicant reps on record. We'll name them all. Peter Gutierrez, Cindy Starrett, and Jim Arnone.
Well, I guess it's good evening,
So
Councilman.
you have
Louise.
5 minutes. You could take them all together, or whoever comes up, then we'll separate the card for 1 minute, whoever doesn't want to do it.
Okay.
And could someone do me a favor and move the chair just to the right, so I could watch the clock, and if you could hold this time while we do that? Okay, great. Thank you. Peter Gutierrez?
Thank you, and good evening, Councilman Weezar and members of the committee. It's late, so we will be brief. We just have a few remarks to make, and then the applicant is here if there are any questions. I'm here on behalf of the applicant asking you to adopt the ordinance to authorize execution of the development agreement. My colleague will touch on the benefits provided through the development agreement, but in addition to the development agreement's community benefits, we want the committee to know that the applicant is moving forward addressing concerns about the project that were raised back in August when the agreement was before this committee. Pursuant to the project entitlements already approved by council, the applicant has submitted to planning for consideration a refined site plan that eliminates the outdoor truck access alley on the north side of the building and replaces it with a passive use area, creating a buffer between the neighbors and the building. And also, all delivery trucks are routed inside the building. The revised plan also eliminates the grocery store, which results in a reduction in traffic and delivery truck impacts. There's also a reduction in the podium height on the northern side of the building by creating step backs to further integrate and harmonize the building massing with adjacent residential uses. These and other updates, as submitted to the planning director and copied to this committee, further reduce the potential project impacts. Thank you for your time, and I'm going to turn this over to my colleague, Cindy Starrett.
Thank you.
Good evening, council members. I'm Cindy Starrett from Latham & Watkins. Just a couple of points about the development agreement. The community benefits in the development agreement are extensive, and we have reached agreement, as the chair noted, with the council office. They include a total of nearly $2 million to be paid toward community benefits. That includes $1 million to use for construction of affordable housing in Hollywood, even though this is an office project, but we are making that commitment to support affordable housing. We are also working with labor, and our development agreement provides for local hiring, jobs training, and a project labor agreement. There is also funding through the development agreement for Hollywood Freeway mobility programs. This responds to a Caltrans letter supporting our willingness to work collaboratively with the city and Caltrans for further studies on the Hollywood Freeway. Materials have been submitted into the record, as Peter noted, demonstrating our ongoing commitment to respond to project concerns. Chris Pearson and Chris Barton are both here from Hudson, but again, recognizing that you've been here a long time today, unless there's any questions, perhaps we'll pause here and be happy to answer any questions at a later time.
Great. Thank you. Is Jim Arnone going? Is he here? No?
He's not here.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Thank you. All right. We have a number of public comment cards. Lerone Gubler, Christopher Barton. Any of them here? Not here? All right. Noel Weiss, Jason Vogel, Beverly Palmer, Doug Haynes. All right, welcome.
Welcome, council members. A couple of points basically that we wanted to raise in opposition to the development agreement. One, as set out in my letter to you of today, basically there's an issue relative to the viability of the land use entitlements, and specifically the general plan amendment. This general plan for Hollywood, as you know, was set aside by court order. It's in review. It's in reprocess. They basically redesignated this property under the general plan with the same designation that was voided out by the court. I think that raises somewhat of a questionable legal situation and impacts directly on the legal viability of this development plan. 19 seconds. Okay. Secondly, There's an issue of the transferability. Originally, I think the city did not want to have this development agreement transferred without its consent. Apparently, that was modified, and there's nothing in the documentation that shows that that was something that was previously acceptable to the council, and I think the city policy should be maintained in that regard. Thank you.
Thank you. Jason?
Good evening. I'm Jason Vogel, the adjacent property owner and representing Hollywood Residents for Responsible Development. Under this development agreement, the city is giving away about $75 million in value in exchange for about $1.25 million in community benefits, plus about $500,000 in the council members' fund. So that's $75 million in exchange for 1.75 plus. This is not only a terrible deal for the neighborhood and the city, but exactly the type of pay-to-play corruption that voters remember. This development agreement adversely impacts 26 adjacent housing units plus hundreds in the neighborhood, in traffic and otherwise, and it offers enough money for what, 4 to 6, maybe 10, probably not even. I'm a builder, I know. You won't get that many affordable housing in the unit. So this is a real negative for housing. This project has a horrible impact on the neighborhood, throwing shades on neighbors and clogging residential streets. 5901 Sunset Development deal is a terrible deal and should be rejected.
Beverly Palmer?
Good evening, council members. Thank you. I'm here on behalf of the AIDS Healthcare Foundation. First, to comment on the changes mentioned by the applicant's representatives. These are changes that the community that has been concerned and following this project are unaware of and have not been informed about. So I would request that those documents be made public so that the community knows how the project has been changed. This development agreement locks in place for 15 years these entitlements and appears to prevent some protective planning measures like the Neighborhood Integrity Initiative, which is supported by the AIDS Healthcare Foundation, from being effective in this area. In exchange for these relatively modest set of benefits, it prevents that citizen-led initiative from having its full effect. There are reasons why 2 lawsuits have been filed against the project. It's an example of spot zoning, improper environmental review, and it has unmitigated impacts on the community and neighbors. Each of these on its own would be a reason not to approve the development agreement, and so AIDS Healthcare Foundation requests that you deny the development agreement. Thank you.
Thank you. Doug Haynes.
Good evening. My name's Doug Haynes. First off, we were, as a neighborhood, unaware of the changes, particularly on the elimination of the grocery store component. That's something that would be great if they came back to the neighborhood council on. As far as the community benefits package, I see it, and many others see it as a clumsy shakedown of the developer. There's no real relationship between what's being expended and what the impacts are of this project. $1 million for the Affordable Housing Fund, that's essentially in Hollywood 2 units. The average unit cost is $480,000. $20,000 for historic preservation was rejected by Hollywood Heritage. The $445,000 for CD13 on their mobility fund doesn't really address the issue where the neighborhood that's immediately east of this project, where I used to live, which is Van Ness to Bronson, Sunset to Harold Way, is going to be strangled by this project. There's going to be significant impacts on Bronson and Sunset, Van Ness and Sunset, and the neighborhood segment, and there's no way to alleviate that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's our final speaker. Anything to add from Council District 13 on this? No? Okay. Planning staff?
So I just want to, Lucy Barr with the Planning Department, I just want to note for the record that CD13 was here and was supportive of the changes to the development agreement. Mm-hmm. I just want to address some of the comments that were made. The first speaker made a comment relative to the general plan amendment and zone change. I just want to add, as we stated before, on numerous occasions, the city has full discretion to amend the general plan in whole or in part in compliance with Charter Section 555. The general plan amendment included significant findings as required by our code, and you approved those findings as part of your project approvals. The changes to the development agreement were properly noticed on November 14th, so there was proper notice relative to the changes. The relationship, the comment relative to the relationship between the impacts and the benefits, the development agreement is not intended to mitigate or otherwise address project impacts. That's what the EIR is for, and that's what the conditions of approval are for. There does not need to be a nexus between the project benefits and the environmental impacts of the project. The EIR, there's a comment about the viability or the applicability or the adequacy of the EIR. I just want to state for the record that the EIR was done in compliance with state law. The EIR noted the unmitigated impacts, and therefore there was a statement of overriding considerations in addressing those impacts. And I also want to state that they haven't been able to produce any significant or factual evidence to dispute the findings of our EIR. And that concludes planning's comments.
Okay, great, thank you. And there was a comment about the removal of a grocery store. Was that part of the original, or was that just discussion?
What council approved is consistent with what the CPC approved on the project.
Okay. All right. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Any other questions or comments on this item? No questions or comments, so we will move to approve the development agreement. Any questions?
The city attorney prepare ordinance.
The city attorney prepared ordinance on the development. Yeah. Yes. Any other questions or comments? Any objections to the motion? Seeing none.
For clarification, because this is in council tomorrow, the ordinance has already been prepared. It's being presented tomorrow to council.
Yes. Yeah, we're approving the ordinance today. Yeah.
Oh, I thought you said request.
No, I said
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
All right. Thank you. Because I've done some of that stuff before, so thanks for the clarification. That's it. Any objections to the motion to approve the ordinance? No? So ordered. Thank you. That concludes this item. Sorry for keeping you guys on number 7 here so late. We have public comment next, and nobody wants to stay here for public comment? No? All right. Herman.
Goddamn shame when you hold back public comment cards when I submit it for the record under item 1, item 13 special, item 6, and every other bullshit card I place for the record. So, as you know, zone change does impact the community. The reef beef is this. It's only a broken promise. Dibble Dwarf even knows it for the record. That's why he's off the podium leaving. Bye, Dibble Dwarf. This is the real situation when it comes to housing.
I am sorry, Mr. Herman. Mr. Herman, I believe we've lost quorum.
Sit down
Is
and
Mr. Eglander here?
take the abuse because it's not my fault. You hold us back from public comment. So the issue is, we got you, foos. We got you. That's why Price left, and that's why Cedillo left. We hold you accountable, fools. Do a better job. Provide housing for the HHH.
Thank you very much. And please do not wear that Iron Maiden t-shirt because you are not worthy. Thank you very much. This meeting is adjourned.